Good evening, everyone. We will call tonight's meeting to order at 5 p.m. This will be the July 14th regular meeting. First up, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hudson,
Present.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Here.
Councilmember Hanson,
Here.
Councilmember Pride. Didn't
Okay.
hear you.
Did you not hear somebody?
Here. Thank you.
All right. Now we got that sorted. Any changes to the agenda, City Manager?
There are no changes.
Okay. With that, we will go into closed session, item 5A. Prior to the City Council convening into closed session, the public will have an opportunity to address the council regarding the item listed below pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3. Public comments are generally restricted to 3 minutes. 5A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 1, name of the case, City of Willows versus County of Glenn et al., Glenn County Superior Court, case number 26CV00193. Is there any public comment regarding that closed session item? Yes.
Michelle Knight. Last Thursday, the city attorney appeared before the court and made several accusations against the sheriff, alleging that he could not be trusted to follow through on the services he had previously committed to providing. During her testimony, she specifically stated that the sheriff's deputies took more than 30 minutes to respond to a domestic violence call. That statement was inaccurate. The deputies arrived in less than 24 minutes. She also failed to inform the court that responding deputies were dispatched from Hamilton City and that the California Highway Patrol had already responded at the sheriff's office request and had determined that the incident to be non-urgent matter. These facts were known to the attorney at least 2 days before the court appearance. This raises a serious concern or question: why would an attorney present incomplete or inaccurate information to the court while representing the interests of our city? Additionally, with respect to non-emergency matters, the city manager continues to forwarding citizen-submitted incidents to the sheriff's office, even when those incidents reported nonviolent crimes that are no longer in progress. The sheriff's office has consistently indicated that some such incidents do not warrant an immediate response. Continuing to refer these cases creates unnecessary delays, raises unrealistic expectations for residents, and results in avoidable frustration by both citizens and sheriff's office personnel. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Any further public comment regarding the closed session item?
A couple of things. And I think that everybody felt, I'm Joyce Cassander, that we were blindsided. So when there's a big deal, maybe you told somebody somewhere, and I don't read your minutes all the time on the internet, but I really felt blindsided with that. I also feel that by hiring someone to investigate, us having our own department is a good idea. However, the other thing is, I've been in business for myself and I've been a school teacher, blah, blah, blah. So you have a list and the positives, the negatives, how much is it going to cost here? Item this, how much is it going to cost here? And so I would appreciate that you looked into it with dollars and cents, as well as we do want our own police force. And I think that you hiring, I can't remember the gentleman's name, was really a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment regarding the closed session item, conference with legal counsel,
existing litigation. Okay, with that, we will go into closed session at 5:05. Thank you. We will be coming back from closed session at 6 o'clock, and we will be beginning with item 7A, proclamation celebrating the 100th anniversary of California Water Service. City of Willows proclamation celebrating the 100th anniversary of California Water Service, whereas California Water Service, Cal Water, was founded in 1926 and has provided safe, reliable, and high-quality water service to communities throughout California for 100 years. And whereas for generations, Cal Water has proudly served the City of Willows by delivering clean drinking water, maintaining critical infrastructure, and supporting the health, safety, and well-being of our community. And whereas over the past century, Cal Water has demonstrated a commitment to reliable services, responsible water stewardship, infrastructure investment, and community partnership. And whereas Cal Water has fostered strong partnerships with local governments, schools, businesses, and community organizations while supporting programs and initiatives that strengthen local communities. And whereas the City of Willows recognizes and appreciates the dedication of Cal Water's employees and celebrates the company's century of service to its customers and communities it serves. And whereas the celebration of Cal Water's 100th anniversary provides an opportunity to recognize a century of service, innovation, and stewardship, and to acknowledge the important role the company continues to play in supporting the health, safety, and prosperity of the City of Willows and communities throughout California. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, do hereby recognize and celebrate the 100th anniversary of Cal Water Service and extend sincere congratulations and appreciation to its leadership, employees, and retirees for 100 years of dedicated service. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and official seal this 14th day of July, 2026. And will Shannon McGovern and Tavis Bayan, am I saying it right? I feel like I always mess it up. Bayan, sorry, sir.
Thank you, Tavish. Thank you, Shannon. Cal Water's been an outstanding partner for 100 years. So thanks for the good work. Keep it up.
Okay. Next up, public comment and consent calendar forum. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved with a single vote unless removed for separate discussion by the council or city manager. Individuals wishing to speak on consent items or matters not on the agenda are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. We have item 8A, register approval, item 8B, minutes approval, item 8C, Glen Clusa Irrigation District easement agreement, item 8D, temporary moratorium on new mobile food applications, item 8E, utility biller new job classification and salary schedule, item 8F, Prentice Long PC new contract for the municipal code update project, item 8G, Civic Center ADA door upgrades project agreement amendment. Item 8H, Engine 2 lease agreement, community leasing partners. And with that, I will give it up to any questions from the council regarding any of those items.
I would like to pull some items for discussion. I would like to pull item 8B, minutes approval, item 8E, utility biller, new job classification and salary schedule, item 8F, if it's 8, am I right? 8F, the Prentice Long new contract for the municipal code update project, and 8G, the Civic Center ADA door upgrades project agreement.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve item 8. I'm sorry. Like to pull item 8D, David, temporary moratorium on new mobile food applications for discussion and separate vote, please. Thank you.
So with that, we will go into public comment for any items on the consent calendar or anything not on the current agenda. Do you have any public comment?
I have Alan Birkin for general comment.
I'd like to speak about the library board. Libraries are much more than books on shelves. They're complex organizations that require experience and expertise to operate properly. In my view, the Willows public is best served by having a dedicated, exclusive library board with experienced board members working in collaboration with the library director. It is a standard arrangement in California and across America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Johnson, item 8E.
Yes, we are.
So should this wait till later then?
City attorney, is it better to wait to do public comment for each item after we pull it, or?
Would probably be best to do it that way.
Okay. So then, yes, we will pull that and then you will open that up to public comment afterwards. Afterwards, yes. Sir.
I have no other speaker cards. That's a pulled item. Well, they're going to discuss 8E in a moment.
I'm Marlena Sparkman. And I want to talk about 8F, and I realize it may have been pulled, but I think that what I have to say is relevant. I attended court the other day, and it appears that our attorney, Ms. Stour, accused our sheriff of not doing his job. And then at the end of the court, the judge said that she didn't do her job. Now, my question is she either dishonest in representing and saying things that aren't true, or is she inept? And it doesn't matter which one she is. Why would we contract with a company that can do that in court and turn around and have them take care of our municipal code? In addition to that, in the agenda, it doesn't say what we're going to pay for that, and it doesn't say that there's a cap. Shouldn't that be a concern to us? If we're on a budget and our city is fiscally in trouble, then that should be, I would think that would be on the agenda. As for the ADA door, we're going to consider picking a company in Chico when we've got more than 8 options in Glenn County. Do you know if that went out to bid?
I believe that'll be discussed when we talk about item 8G
Okay.
as a
did it
separate
go
item.
out?
We're not,
Can't they answer if it can go out, if it went out to bid?
when it comes up time for us to talk about item 8G, yes.
It's been pulled, Mark.
We're pulling it to,
I'm
we're pulling it to have that
If
conversation.
it's going to go back on there, maybe before it goes back on there, we can sit it out to bid so that people from Glenn County can bid on it.
And we will discuss that when we talk about item 8G.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I do. I want to affect the outcome of that by not having someone in Chico chosen. So if we're putting off the consideration, then maybe you guys can think about that and request for a bid so someone locally could get that job. We've got Tony Tapia, ACRC, Cheney and Miller. There's lots of good people right here in Glenn County that should be considered. While I'm here, in court, she discussed some things that she said the sheriff didn't do. There was a domestic violence call that went out from the fire department, and they requested that the sheriff respond. The sheriff happened to be in Hamilton City, so he asked the CHP who was closer to attend. It took him only 24 minutes to get from Hamilton City to Willows, and by the time he got there, it went to a code 2 and they were gone already. So by her saying in court that he didn't respond, it makes him look like he's not doing his job, but really she's not doing her job. I've heard it said from people here that the sheriff hasn't been providing reports. Well, I did a public records request, and I have copies of the reports, and they've been giving the reports for years, the week after the end of the month, so that you guys know not just what the calls are, but what day of the week the most calls come in, what kind of calls come in. so that you can document that he has been doing his job, because the way she puts it out there, he hasn't been. And I don't think that's fair to not answer that or have someone stick up for our sheriff. So I don't know. I guess that's it. I mean, no, you're not going to talk about all that tonight, but maybe it will impact your decision before it goes back on there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I will ask for council approval on items 8A, 8C, and 8H.
Excuse me. Please.
Oh,
I
sorry.
started the meeting at 5, so for general comments, I just wanted to ask if, and I know you can't answer this, but if you could consider, if we could get status from Mr. Maloney on what we're doing moving forward at each meeting regarding law enforcement services, that would be helpful to our citizens. Also, if you would consider subcommittees for the library and for the pool and park upgrades, that would also be helpful for our citizens. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The only other thing, Evan, I noticed that we do have GCID representation in the audience, and you're on one of our consent items. So I don't know if you had anything you wanted to bring up or share.
Okay, with that, I'll leave it with the pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve item 8A, 8C, and 8H as presented.
I have a first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
First and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item up will be item 8B, minutes approval. Recommended action, approve the minutes of the June 23rd, 2026 City Council meeting and the June 25th, 2026 Special City Council meeting. And
Pulled by Councilmember Pride.
oh,
So I pulled this item because at our meeting on June 23rd, the library issue was not spoken to at that meeting. And it was somewhat of a contentious postponement. The minutes of our meeting did say that item 8A, which was agendized as amended in chapter 2.7 of the Library of the Willis Municipal Code, it was continued to the meeting tonight. So the direction of council was to continue that item to tonight's meeting, and I did not see that on our agenda for tonight. So I was going to ask Mary Hudson, was there a reason that this item was not continued to our meeting tonight?
because I asked for it not to be.
Okay, and so was there a reason for that?
Yes, because we already had a packed agenda item and we were also going to be doing closed session regarding law enforcement. And I figured that was better time spent for city staff and us as well to be focused on. As we do have a full-time library director and a full-time children's librarian there to perfectly run the library at this moment.
So,
And their next meeting is not until August. And so we have time between now and then to push that off to a later date. We have more pressing matters.
and I would not disagree at all that we do have many pressing matters. However, it was put on the agenda during a very pressing time. So we kind of launched a little grenade out to the community that said we're going to change how we do it. And then we've not continued to have the discussion, which has created a bit of consternation in the community. And I guess, I don't even know if it's appropriate, but I do think that some closure, and again, this was only a code to look at our municipal code. It wasn't even to make a firm decision yet. In the meantime, we have 3 vacancies on the library board of trustee. That whole thing has come to a halt pending some future look at ordinance and some future possible change. I'm hearing overwhelmingly from the community that they would like to continue with our current arrangement of the library board of trustees. And in fact, the ed code is very strong in that that's the recommended course of action. The proposal that we're thinking about doing as a possibility of redoing our municipal code is the actual least favored alternative when you look at what's recommended at the state level. And it actually asks for an actual legal opinion as to whether that should be the way to go. Personally, I like the idea of having our community members involved in these roles on our boards of trustees, getting more input from the community, having more community participation. I think it's been clear that I'm not in favor of that changing as we go forward. Again, we've continued an item. I know some of you are here tonight again asking what's going on with the library. So my request would be of the council that we just continue moving forward with it as we have for the last, I'm going to guess, 40 years, 50 years, and move to seek applicants for the 3 remaining Board of Trustees seats that are vacant. And, you know, sometimes we don't get, it's not a question and answer time yet, Dan. And see if we even get anybody who's interested. I mean, sometimes with our planning commission and sometimes with our library boards, we don't get applicants for it. But I've heard loud and clear from many of you that you want it to continue, that you want that to be a role. I do agree that there's room for some improvement in how that Board of Trustees has functioned in collaboration with the City of Willows. So I think it needs some work. But I think it's been a two-way street in terms of some of why it hasn't been working very well. So I pulled it from the agenda because I needed clarification on why we keep pushing this down the path. And I wanted the public to be able to know clearly as a public if we're putting it off and we're just going to do nothing until late August. That's a decision of the majority of the council. I would move to approve these minutes as the item before us today. And under council comments later this evening, I'm going to bring this item back up under council comments. But for now, I would move that we approve item 8B, the minutes as presented, with clarification on why the Library Board of Trustees item has been continued.
And we will, thank you. Any questions from the council regarding that?
No,
Hanson?
Mr. Mayor, no.
Okay, public comment regarding item 8B. Yes.
I'm very concerned about this library board, and I would like to volunteer my services to be a board member if necessary. The other thing is, what I would like to know is, and I'm going to not say anything about the sewage. Other people have a lot of more important things, much better to say. The other thing is, I talked to a friend of mine and I was going to have them join me, and I was going to learn how to do I can't remember what they're called, but you get money from people so you can build pools and things. Grants, thank you. And there's been a grant. How many years has it been now? 3? And I don't see anything happening. So I'm just making a comment about that. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, would you like a second on item 8B?
Well, now would be an appropriate time to do a
I
vote on it.
second the motion.
Okay. So you want to give the first? It's technically your first in account because we had to do public comment first. Or does it still count even though I paused to do public comment?
My motion to approve the minutes still stands.
Yes.
Does it still stand even though?
It's a second.
Okay.
I second the
Perfect. So
motion.
we have a first and a second. All in
Yeah.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Okay. Item 8D, temporary moratorium on new mobile food applications, introduced by title only, an ordinance authorizing a temporary moratorium on new mobile food truck applications in the city of Willows, and waive the full reading of the ordinance, attachment 1. Direct staff to schedule the ordinance for a second reading and adoption at the July 28th, 2026 city council meeting. Councilmember Hanson, I will give you the floor.
Oh, yeah, very briefly, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I just want to state I was opposed to this item last year when we considered it. Just that I'm opposed to any moratorium on a lawful business. I just want to express my opinion. And I find that exclusionary and discriminatory, actually, on disallowing a certain type of business in the community. I know that for our Title 18 municipal code is being rewritten at this time. We've had 2 joint City Council and Planning Commission meetings on this. Staff has been working on the update for Title 18, our municipal code, for some time now, and it is we're getting closer to the finish line finally. But I just wanted to express my opinion on that. I don't think it's a good idea, and it certainly doesn't send a message to any business community slapping a moratorium on any type of a lawful business. So those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the council? Okay, any public comment regarding item 8D, temporary moratorium on new mobile food applications?
I have no cards.
Okay, I
Would
have
thi-
one hand if you'd like to come up and speak real quick.
9B. Jesse Orndorff, I live over on Crawford Street. I struggle to understand why we would possibly turn down additional tax revenue from new legitimate businesses that are going to attract additional people to our town to spend money in our town when we have a cash flow problem. We've not had any problems with any of the food trucks. They've not caused.
I believe this was a part of the Title 18 update that we were working on. I can speak on this, right? I'm not.
It's an agenda item.
Yeah.
It is.
So from my recollection was there wasn't a proper definition of a food truck or mobile food service, and different food trucks were being treated differently when it came through planning. Lori, you might be able to correct me on this.
Well, there's a multitude of issues. Food trucks have gotten to be a problem in municipalities all over the place because they've become very prolific. They pop up everywhere. There's a lot of food handling, environmental health considerations when they come up. It really became a zoning issue. And we have a lot of the food trucks that you see like on the weekends and after hours, they're probably not permitted at all. They might not even have a food handling permit. So when you're going to some of those and they know to come in after hours when environmental health's not here, city people aren't here. A food truck wants to go in and they can create certain traffics. They don't always have bathrooms. So then they're using porta potties. And if they're going to go into an area that is next to someone's house, they may not want that. So our zoning was very silent on the whole issue of mobile businesses at all, but specifically on food trucks. And so what we were trying to do, and we had a couple that were coming in at the same time, and literally they were being treated different things. So one was having to do a use permit, and one was being told they could do it just to do it. And we had no language to kind of, I hate to even use the word manage or enforce because I know that can seem kind of negative. But when you're living somewhere and all of a sudden someone pulls up in their food truck and throws a porta potty out and, cars are coming and going, it's like any use. We want our town to look a certain way. We want to kind of manage how things look. So it wasn't to be punitive. And honestly, when we first enacted the moratorium, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe we've had any applications since then.
We haven't had any applications, but we've had inquiries at the counter where we told them there's a moratorium.
Just to take a pause. Our municipal code update's been taking longer, and we'll talk a little bit about that on one of our next items coming up. So we had thought we would have this well done within the first year. Our Title 18, which is where the zoning falls into, is being done by Harrison Associates. That's, we've got a first draft of that. That's our most comprehensive. What is Willows going to look like? What kind of uses do we want to have? It's a very comprehensive document. That mobile food truck ordinance in their first draft was 2 paragraphs long. When I look at other municipalities, it's at least a couple of pages. It's really got a lot of things to detail, making sure they're getting their environmental health permits, making sure they're actually paying their sales tax. If they're coming in and they're fly by night and they're not getting a business license, they're probably not collecting sales tax. So we're truly not getting that benefit. We're maybe getting some ancillary benefits where they come in and buy a taco at a truck or a burger or whatever. Maybe they're going somewhere else and shopping also. So there's ancillary benefits, but we just wanted to take a pause and do a better job. So when we have them, and honestly, if we could steer them in a direction like a food court or an area that could be a venue, there's a lot of ways we could do it that would make it much more impactful for the community and be a place to go and, add things to it. So it's meant to be a positive. And I know so often when we hear little bits and pieces of something, it feels like the negative. We're getting closer to having that done. So hopefully this moratorium is just going to be
Okay.
a little bit longer.
Excellent. Thank you for the explanation.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Mhm.
If I may, thank you. Thank you, sir, for your comments. Much appreciated. And I agree with everything you just said. But Councilmember Pride, I think you're missing my point. My proposal to this item has nothing to do with illegal food trucks. Absolutely not. I'm talking about lawful businesses, period. Not illegal food trucks. I'm absolutely opposed to the illegal food trucks. And I've reported several of them to our city staff as they pop up, correct? So
Correct.
I just want to make that clear. This is about lawful businesses. Our food trucks are fantastic businesses here. That's what I'm opposed to placing a moratorium on, not the unlawful food trucks. I just want to make that clear.
Well, and by having
Thank
a
you.
code, we can determine what's lawful and what's not. So a code's important. And I was really just responding to Mr. Orndorff's question.
Of course, code's important. That's our legislation. Those are our laws. But currently we're on a case by case basis and we have 3 food trucks operating lawfully in the city of Willows. So I don't see a major problem with that. And we're not being overrun by food trucks. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Thomas, anything to add?
No.
Okay. With that, it's up to the pleasure of the council regarding item 8D, temporary moratorium on new mobile food applications.
And just one last comment. Would this be a good time, Marty, just to explain why it's showing up again later? The emergency versus the regular?
Why we have it on there.
So the current item on the consent calendar is for the regular ordinance. So that goes through 2 readings. One would be this one and one would be on the July 28th meeting. And then it would take effect 30 days from that second reading. So we'd be looking at about, the end of August for that. The moratorium does expire on, I believe, July 17th. So the urgency ordinance would cover us for 45 days. But we didn't want to extend the urgency ordinance since the first passage was based on a regular ordinance. So we felt covering with the 45 days, which is the next item, and then doing this process would keep us covered if it passes. And not allow a lapse, basically.
Right. So just so when it comes back up on another item, that's kind of the explanation of why we're doing it both to ensure coverage while we hopefully get our Title 18 done. Yes, and
Correct.
that's why, just exactly what was being explained.
So one's the urgency, the one right now is the regular, so this would be a first reading and it would come back on the 28th. Yep. So covering the time to not allow an expiration.
Okay. Pleasure of the council.
So I would move to introduce by title only an ordinance authorizing a temporary moratorium on new mobile food truck applications in the city of Willows and waive the full reading of the ordinance. And direct staff to schedule the ordinance for a second reading and adoption at the July 28th meeting.
I have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further comment? With that, we'll go for a vote.
Like roll call?
Yeah, let's do a roll call vote.
Sure. Councilmember Pry,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson,
Nay.
and Mayor.
I'm going to say nay. When I voted yes for the temporary moratorium on the mobile food trucks, it was that our Title 18 was going to be done in a timely manner, and it's been unfortunately delayed, like a lot of things. And I don't think that us having delays is a good reason to stop legal businesses to come in. So that's where I'm at with that one. And we will continue on to item. So the motion dies. Is there anything I need to do further than that, City Attorney? Okay. With that, we'll go to item 8E, utility biller, new job classification and salary schedule. Councilmember Lori Pride.
Thank you. So I wanted to pull this one off. I think I just heard from a lot of people in the community the concern that this is a full-time position and it is actually a part-time position. And I was wanting to just say on the job description, I know in my HR background, normally if it was part-time, the job description would actually reflect that like part-time, not to exceed so many hours. So it's clear. And then if something changed. So I was just wanting to make sure that we referenced that. Where you find it as part-time, this position was approved in the budget under the Sewer Enterprise Fund. It had originally been proposed in last year's budget as a full-time position in finance. It would be doing other finance things. When we brought our new finance director on, Joey Harrison, she didn't think we needed another full-time position. So this utility billing position is only budgeted at $22,000 a year in the Sewer Enterprise Fund. And I believe it's a 16-hour-a-week part-time position. So essentially no benefits. So it's a relatively low-cost position. Some of the other questions I just had in here in the job description, it just talks about this is utility billing. This is something new that we're bringing in-house. So this is a new position. It's going to be a new process for us as we do sewer billing, direct billing to the customers starting soon. It does say on page 2 of the application, at the top of page 2, it still says finance and human resource specialist. You may have already caught that instead of saying utility billing clerk, just if it's a 2-page job description. But it does talk about researching account discrepancies, billing errors, return payments, everything in accordance with city policy. Have we been able to actually draft a city policy for utility billing since that's new to us as we move forward with this new endeavor?
The policy is actually in the works.
Okay.
currently.
So can you just refresh us maybe on the timeline for the utility billing? I know that it's coming quickly and I don't know that this, and if I missed it, I don't know if we've done a lot of public outreach yet on this coming, but just a timeline for implementation and maybe hiring the position and whatnot.
So we're actually working on sort of a communication plan right now internally, and so we are getting ready to go much more publicly. If the council were to approve the position, job classification, and the schedule tonight, we would pretty quickly go out with a recruitment, and concurrently, we would also start in the next, week or two with communications to the public in the newsletter. We've talked about having a town hall meeting, putting a flyer in, or like a postcard in the Cal Water mailer, and an article in the newspaper, and holding a public meeting, and also putting it on social media, Facebook page, as well as the city's website. So those are things that we're planning to do in the next 2 months, and starting with probably commercial in September and possibly October. We're still trying to figure out that timeline, and then residential would probably be more like October
Okay.
for billing.
So just to clarify, we're looking for verbiage in here to have it say part-time or no?
It's part-time.
It is
only
part-time,
appro-
but
it's only
But we can
approved for
certainly
part-time.
amend the
did you
job.
not say anything? I thought you just said something that there's nothing in here stating that.
Well, it didn't say it, but it is part-time. It's approved in the budget as a part-time position, only 22,000 a year. So we can't do anything other than what we approved in our budget. I'm just saying that when the community started looking at this, the comments I'm getting, it's like, oh, you're filling a full-time position because the salary schedule is based on a full year, and it's not prorated. But obviously, when you fill a part-time position, everything's prorated based on the hours worked. So I wanted to clarify.
Right, sorry. I was just asking whether or not there was a full-time salary schedule attached to the biller, because I thought that it was just hourly, which is,
It shows a annual salary schedule starting at 46,000 a year. So is that for part-time?
That would be if it was full-time, but
Right.
there should be one underneath there that says an hourly rate.
Well, 2262, but again, people weren't seeing anything in the packet that said the position was only part-time. And so when the public's reviewing the packet and they didn't come to the budget meetings and listen to hear that it's only part-time, that's the only way you would know that it was only a
the
part-time.
recommended action does say a new part-time utility
Okay.
biller.
Correct.
But I
And
agree, we
once-
need to have the classification literally say part-time at the top in all
Yes.
caps.
Thank you.
With that, any further questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I had one constituent ask the same question that Councilmember Pride just alluded to, thinking that it was a full-time position. And I relayed to that individual that no, it was definitely part-time,
Okay.
definitely part-time. So
with that-
and I was going to comment on the
Sorry.
duty statement for the staff presenter for the utility biller, saying that it was a well-done document, but Councilmember Pride pointed out one amendment. So yeah, I'd like to see that amendment in place, and it sounds like it's going to be made part-time. So I'm good with that. So thank you.
If I could, I'd like to make one other friendly amendment. I would like to ask, and I'm sorry I didn't catch this before, that the annual salary and monthly salary schedule that is for full-time be removed from this, because this is a part-time. The position should say part-time utility biller, as you pointed out, Councilmember Pride, and therefore the salary schedule should reflect that. And there should be no full-time attached to the job classification. So I would like to remove those two items and I apologize, I didn't catch that when I was reviewing the agenda packet.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment regarding 8E? There's a lot of alphabet up here.
Karen Johnson.
Good afternoon, Karen Johnson, Madrone Manor. Did
Hi.
you want to read Holly's letter or did you want me to?
I don't have Holly's letter up here, so.
Then I will read Holly's letter. Dear Mayor Hudson and City Council members, I'm writing in the opposition and to oppose the creation of the part-time utility position. While the part-time position reduces the immediate salary costs, managing this position internally creates an operational trap because the city has zero physical or legal leverage to enforce collections. Unlike water or electricity, a sewer line cannot be simply shut off for non-payment. The clerk has zero enforcement power. The city would inadvertently face a growing mountain of uncollectible bad debt from delinquent accounts with no realistic way to enforce payment. Moving sewer fees to the county role remains the only logical solution. Infeasible part-time enforcement. A part-time clerk would spend limited hours mailing toothless late notices, tracking down delinquent accounts, and managing failed payment plans. The city would have to fund specialized funding, billing software licenses, and as well as many other expenses to wipe out any part-time savings. Automatic enforcement through property liens, placing the sewer fees on the county's roll, eliminates the need for any staff enforcement. Unpaid fees automatically become a property lien. The debt is generally secured and must be paid with the property upon sold, transfer, or refinance. Streamline efficiency. The county handles the administrative work and automated enforcement for nominal fee, completely removing the burden of billing from the city staff. Altering the current setup unnecessarily escalates into a much higher administrative logistic burden. Cal Water only handles a portion of these accounts while the county already streamlines and manages the majority of its tax roll. Forcing a change now creates an unnecessary overhaul from both systems, disrupting the county's existing workflow instead of focusing on simple and efficient plans to transition the remaining Cal Water accounts over to the county. Ultimately, the city cannot bring an entire self-inflicted administrative issue right now. Leadership's focus and resources must remain dedicated on the massive critical projects on the table. Navigating the expiration and extension of the $4 million Sycamore Park grant, as well as handling the fallout from losing our law enforcement contract with Glenn County Sheriff's Department. Reestablishing the Willis Police Department from scratch is a monumental task. The city should protect its overexisted staff and limited budget by not complicating it with an inefficient water waste billing system. Holly Myers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan Smith. She took the words out of my mouth. I also agree that we need to prioritize what we're up to right now. And I think that this is a too little too late solution to a problem that we think Cal Water may bring up. I think we need to continue with what we're doing. I don't think we need to have a part-time employee starting up something that's very complicated and has a whole lot more going on. And I would agree right now that the council and the city needs to prioritize what we're paying attention to and not bring other things to bear. And I commented on this at the budget meeting a couple meetings ago, and that there's going to be huge negative backlash when people start getting sewer bills. Whether or not other towns do it makes no difference to Willows. And it will create a whole lot of difficulties with mortgages and all that. So I think you're creating a problem. I think we need to give the information that we need to as quickly as possible to the county to continue billing like we're doing and put this other stuff to rest for now. So anyway, I'm trying to keep you guys from having even more headaches than you already do. So that's really the common sense here.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna comment one more time. I'm a no on this whole direct sewer billing, and I think it was on the council when it came up the first time in the budget to, purchase the module in Tyler Technologies that would allow us to do the utility billing. Doesn't seem like a big deal. Well, over the last few months, as I've started thinking through how it works, I've said it, I think I said I'm the broken record, I'm the squeaky wheel, I'm the lone voice, I do believe, up here on the council. And we'd only have until August 10th to make a change. But what we're doing by going to direct billing is more expensive than what we would be doing if we left it the status quo. I fail to see how it's going to be easier over time, taking it on when we've never done it before. Where before we'd pay our engineer about $7,000 a year to create a list to send to the county. We'd pay the county about $9,600 a year to put things on the tax roll. All the commercial accounts were billed by Cal Water, and they charge the customer $2.18 for that. The customer pays it. Now, the kicker that's kind of driving us this way is the realization that at some point Cal Water may say we don't want to do it anymore. But I asked the question very specifically yesterday, has Cal Water given us a notice to say they will not do it? And we have not received that notice. So this is a proactive move by the city. I have tried to bring up at every opportunity that there's reasons to not do it. Have we already invested money in moving forward? Absolutely. The city's procured a module for $17,500 to do the utility billing through Tyler Technologies. In our agenda packet alone tonight, there's another $6,700 that we have spent for Tyler Technologies to do configuration. We're going to hire a part-time position for $22,000 a year. We're going to do monthly billings with postage and mailing costs, potential delinquencies, follow-up notices, lots of phone calls from unhappy people. And we think we're moving in an efficient, better direction. I'm going to run for reelection, but quite honestly, if I choose not to, the main reason I would not is because I don't want to be on this council when we do direct billing. I mean, honestly, I grabbed my candidate packet tonight. I'll probably turn it in on August 7th, which is the last day as I decide if I want to go down the path. We have until August 10th. And here's something I find interesting. We have to pay the city engineer $7,000 every year to come up with a list to send to the county assessor's office. But we don't have to do it this year because we can figure it out for ourselves if we're going to do our direct billing. So I'm not sure why. And once we have a list, the list should only change if the house has been demolished, somehow gone away and taken off the property tax rolls, or we built a new one. Might be commercial changes, but again, I'd volunteer my time for a week to come in and do that list. So I'm going to be a no vote on this job description only because I'm a no on the whole thing moving forward. And I think it's important that you as a community, once I realized the scope of it personally, and I just started mentioning it to people, the reaction I have gotten universally is, what the heck are you doing? Now, I know for myself personally, when I get my first billing, I'm going to be double paying because my current property tax bill is on my mortgage statement, which I pay monthly. And until there's a new property tax bill where they adjust my impound accounts and I'll get a refund at some point. But in the short time, all of us who are kind of living paycheck to paycheck because times are tough, we're going to be double paying for a little bit. Now, the city is planning to put together a nice, information that you can give your lender so you can get that straightened out with your impound account. But I don't have a lot of, faith that it's going to be a smooth rollout. So I feel the need. You guys are the community. You guys are the ones that are going to feel the burden of this. I've just figured out, shame on me. I'm really good at saying that. Shame on me. I've been sitting up here. I probably voted for the budget, which adopted buying the technology without understanding what it meant. So now as we gotten closer and closer and closer, and now it's July the 14th, we don't have the position filled. We don't have the policy completed, but we're going to be doing it. And we're going to do it well.
Was there any more public comment?
Michelle Knight, I would say based on Lori's comments that I can't see any justifiable reason why you would change to this position. It is not fiscally responsible for any of you sitting on this council to change to this method of billing whatsoever.
So again, Jesse Orndorff, we total out at $16,000 to have someone figure this out, someone bill it. We want to change to a system that is completely unenforceable. Most likely completely not going to get filled out by, I'd say, at least 40% of the people. I will say 30% of the people aren't going to submit these things because there's no any kind of enforcement, but everybody knows it has no teeth. In exchange for additional, what, 22,000 a year position. So we're already in the hole. Plus additional mailing costs, additional letters, envelopes, all the additional costs there. So we're 26,000 a year. So we're going to adapt a program that we're already $10,000 in the hole. We've invested into money to do a program that we've never done before. We don't have anybody that's ever done it before that can lead us through this process. And we're trying to do it amidst the most disastrous year this city has seen since I've known about it. I think we have much bigger fish to fry other than trying to change a system that works to something that we're hoping a prayer that's already a deficit to you. This has been brought up several times over the past few months that I've been attending these meetings regularly. I've not heard a single shred of one person being in favor of any of this. I've not heard one time that this council has made a decision that this is how we're going to go. Yet tonight on our agenda, we're voting for a person that's actually going to do this job. So at what point was this council going to say, hey, by the way, this is what we're doing, other than tonight saying we're hiring somebody to do this?
Okay.
That was a question to the council. The transparency or lack thereof is utterly astounding.
We're okay. No. I think that'll come up during our discussions. I'll be more than happy to answer that question. But I mean,
when?
My answer to that question is it has been brought up. I know we have discussed this in the past, and I will be honest, it was prior to certain events that have happened in the city. So it has been discussed. This isn't a brand new thing that's been brought up, but it has been brought up in prior meetings.
It's been discussed.
Mhm.
There's been an immense amount of discussion,
Correct.
but there's been no decision.
Correct.
Yes.
And now
No.
tonight's decision time. We're getting ready to make a
But
decision.
We're making decisions on the agenda
Mhm.
that are beyond the decision. You're asking us to decide which tires we want to put on the car, and we haven't even decided to buy the car yet. We're doing sound system and tint and custom paint for a car that we ain't even looked at on the lot yet. We've been talking about buying a car, maybe a car, maybe a truck, maybe a van. Which one's a good idea? Maybe we'll just stay with the old pickup we have. But tonight you're asking us to vote in, or for us to approve that you guys vote in a position to run for something that was never even decided, or that we didn't know was decided, that we have spoken on multiple times in protest of. That Councilman Pride has just sit here and pretty well articulated why it shouldn't be. I'm confounded. Do you have any constituents? Have you spoken to anyone that is in favor of this?
No, I haven't.
Then why the hell is it on the agenda?
Okay. Thank you.
I hate doing this. My name is Peggy White. I kind of go back to what Jan Smith said, with all the things that are going on in, okay, up here, is that better? Okay, with all the things that are going on in Willows right now, with the law enforcement and especially that, do we really want to be distracted by this? It seems like you should be putting priority into making our community safe and well-run. And this does not do that. All it is a distraction from everything else. And especially for city staff, when she talks about, the city manager talks about all the stuff that they're going to have to do now, if this goes through, that distracts from all these other things that need to be done in the city, like, you know, code enforcement and going out and making sure conditional use permits are being are being followed, that they come back to the planning commission for review under their normal, you know, they're granted for 5 years and they need to come back and be re-examined. I mean, these are the kind of things that get lost in the cracks here and lead to things happening in this community that you don't want to happen. That's why really right now, I think this is not a good decision because we have so many other things that need to be prioritized and done for this community.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to go to council comments. Vice Mayor Thomas, anything to add?
Well, they make valid points on that subject. Currently, the residential properties are built on the tax bill. Commercial properties are billed through California Water. Since we have two California Water folks here, do you still do that? But that's not something you want to do. Is that my understanding correct? Thank you.
So just to piggyback on that, with our new rate study, that is one of the next, fun topics on our agenda tonight for us all. The new rate structure does potentially give a lot of our commercial users more of a base amount where there might be the opportunity to put those on the property tax bill at some point. Even if we did single family homes and multifamily homes on the tax rolls and ran out a soft pilot with commercial, that would be a much better way to get our feet wet rather than trying to do the whole thing. Commercials are a base plus some volumetrics that we partner with Cal Water to get that data. But that is another, option, I guess.
Dan Gupton, having done budgets, multi-million-dollar budgets, sometimes things look great on paper. But in actuality, and what Lori said, we can look at something, but, that sounds pretty good. I come back to the old, if it's not broken, why fix it? And we do, it seems, have a lot more serious issues. There's too many ifs. This is like designing a brand new military airplane and they don't even know how the radar is going to work, but they're going to do it anyway. Then they find out they're $1 billion over budget, stressed, and the aircraft isn't worth anything. If the system is still working, especially with all that you guys have to do, I wonder why you want to add something else. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to confirm that with regards to that position, have you guys already bought the supplies like the envelopes and postage and all that stuff?
No.
No?
No. What has been bought and paid for is the software for us to be able to do it.
Do you know how much that cost?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
17,500 and at least another almost 7,000 in configuration costs. And then there's an annual subscription cost of around 8,500 a year.
But my question would be, it sounds like we spent over $20,000 for a position that we haven't even voted on yet. Why would we do that again when we don't have?
The position was approved in the budget. So the
Uh-huh.
position has been approved as part of this plan to do utility billing.
Mhm.
This is the formalizing of the job description that when we hire the person, this would be the duties of the position. But the position itself was approved in the budget. So it was approved
Hmm.
in the sewer budget.
So this vote is what? It says adopt the attached job classification and salary schedule. So it's already a done deal is what you're saying.
Well, this was Lori's last opportunity to bring up the fact that I feel very strongly that I don't think this is a path the city could go on, and I'm one of four. So again, it was my last open door to bring this up with a possibility to shift,
Right.
shift
But-
the process.
But if,
again,
yeah, and if we're not going to have that position, which it sounds like we shouldn't, it's going to cost us more than leaving it the way it is. And we do have bigger fish to fry. Why would we waste $20,000 on stuff if we don't have a person coming to that position? I realize what you're saying, but it's kind of like sometimes we're putting the cart before the horse.
we're at the 11th hour. I mean, honestly, I just feel like people need to understand the path that the city is going down so that they're aware, communications plan is going to be coming out, but you need to be planning financially for that monthly, obligation. I mean, I'm going to vote my conscience on this job description because I don't, and again, I'll say it, I voted for the whole budget. It was in the budget. I'm not going to not vote for the whole budget because that's in there. So it's trying to figure out that way of how do I, as one vote, we're all just one vote up here, representing you all that we talk to and trying to make the best decisions we can make going forward for the city as a whole. And I'll further that theme when we talk about the sewer rate study. But again, for me, I felt it was important that people understand kind of what's going on. And then this job description, the position's approved, the technology's purchased, the plan is going forward. This is, one piece of the puzzle to keep it moving forward is the job description.
So
And clarifying
then,
that it's part.
then it would seem to me that planning ahead of time should have been handled different.
But Tammy Allen, and I own Willows Glass, but I'm also the Northeast Willows Community Service District Secretary. And I do the billing for the sewer district in our district. And I can't believe that you would pay someone $22,000 to do that job. And I do it probably, and I had a mess 3 years ago when I stepped into this position because the city didn't even bill us an invoice for 3 years. So if we would have gone by the city, we wouldn't have paid you 3 years of sewer taxes. And we found the money and we did not know where it went. And it was like pulling teeth to get an invoice from the city to pay you guys. And we did pay you. And so I'm wondering, how are you going to do the whole city if our district, you didn't even clutch the money from our district? And I'm like, Lori, I would volunteer and help you put your sewer rates together if your parcels, if you guys can't do that, to turn it over to the county. The county does an excellent job and people are accountable to pay their sewer taxes. If not, they'll eventually lose their property. So it's not that hard, and paying someone $22,000 a year when the city is struggling to do so much more, that is something that you can set aside, in my opinion.
I may be off base here, but it's like this. If you have something for sale, maybe somebody else would like to buy what you've already invested in. But I'm really good with money. And I'm a little concerned about the city's way they're spending money.
Okay. Vice Mayor Thomas, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay, Councilmember Pride?
Nope.
Councilmember Hanson?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, appreciate everyone's comments tonight. I definitely do. Just for a little historical, information and why we're even having this discussion tonight. For several years now, Cal Water and Tavis and Shannon, thank you for being here. Cal Water's like I said earlier, you're a fantastic partner. Always have been. We really appreciate we have an outstanding working relationship with Cal Water. You're good. You're outstanding at what you do. So thank you. And Tavis, thank you for those comments. And Rick, Vice Mayor Thomas, thank you for asking the question. At Cal Water for a number of years, Tavis is our, if not all of you know, Tavis is our local Willows District Manager, Cal Water. And you heard him. Cal Water does not want to do the sewer billing. Currently, they do the commercial sewage billing and have for many, many years. They're trying to get out of that business. They don't want to be in that business. And Cal Water, Tavis, and also his predecessor has also advised us several times over the years. Is that not correct, Tavis? Several times over the years that Cal Water does not want to do the sewage billing. They're trying to get out of it. Willows is one of the few districts left in the state of California where Cal Water operates. One of the very few that they're still doing it. Luckily, they're working with us. So previous the previous council, at least about 2 years ago, to be proactive, there was a suggestion from one of our council members, and Marty and Rick, if memory serves me, I believe it was Councilmember Sprague when he was on the council.
That's correct.
His recommendation was to, and a potential solution to the problem was to bring the utility billing in-house, as many municipalities throughout the state currently do. And I did a little research on it, did more than a little research on it, and it seemed, at first I was skeptical, but then it seemed like a pretty decent idea. So there are costs involved on both sides of it. You have to spend money on engineering service. So currently the way it's done, the engineering or city engineer bundles all the information on an annual basis to the county tax collector. That can only be done once. That has to be done from scratch every year. The county wants brand new documents every year. The information from Cal Water commercial billing, and also the information from the residential sewage billing parcels has to be repackaged, researched, and repackaged every year. Currently, the city engineer, who unfortunately isn't here tonight, but John Wanger, our longtime former city engineer, who very recently retired, he would start that rollout process in the springtime, in March, April at the latest. It takes some time for the engineering firm to get that information together. Again, the county required that this be done from scratch each and every year. They won't take last year's information with a few modifications. It's brand new roll up scratch. That's problematic for us. So you have city engineer expenses, and then you have county tax roll expenses as well, twice a year for the tax roll. I mean, nothing's free, right? So Mr. Sprague's suggestion to bring it in-house, and as staff started working on it, brought forward over the past 2 years plus, probably 2.5 years, as a solution. We can bring it in-house. We've had several discussions at different meetings, previous council and also this council, on the utility billing information. It was, as you've heard, it was approved in this year's budget for a part-time position, not to exceed 22 or 25,000, but no more than 20 hours a week, right, at max. No benefits, no insurance benefits. The only benefits would be nominal part-time benefits to prorated holiday and sick leave, just like our part-time library personnel receive currently, just to treat them fairly. And it's the right thing to do. So with that, there's one other option, and that's to contract out with a firm, which many municipalities in California also do, and also in Northern California. It's kind of a mixed bag. You either do it in-house with your own utility biller, or whatever you call the position. It's currently utility biller here, and it's sewage utility billing, or it's contracted out to another firm, which no doubt will cost more money. I mean, you're dealing with another vendor. So those are options. So trying to be proactive and bring it in-house because Cal Water went out of the business. And one of these days in the near future, Cal Water is going to say, we're not doing this anymore. So all we're trying to do was plan ahead. And that's why we're even having this discussion tonight. That's all it is. As simple as that. And like I say, Cal Water's been a great partner, but they're not going to be doing this for much longer. They don't want to do it. And we've been put on notice that they want out. So that's why we're having the discussion. And of course, the agenda item tonight, the consent calendar, item 8A is only to consider adoption of the duty statement. I'm sorry, job classification. We always, in law enforcement business, referred to as duty statement, same thing. So that's what the discussion is tonight. So if that helps, that's the historical reasoning for why we're here. Sure. Right now, do we have some very serious issues we're facing? Absolutely, absolutely, and we're dealing with that night and day here. Primarily, our public safety emergency situation we're in over law enforcement services. Right? It's paramount. This seems minuscule on top of that, but the funds need to come in order to make sure that health and safety needs are met for sewage to be effectively collected and treated. It's expensive, as you know, we're on clay soil. We'll have that discussion here coming up very soon tonight. But that's where we're at tonight with this. No doubt going outside to a contractor is going to be expensive. The city started rolling the Tyler Technologies, and you've heard that term bannered around over the last 2 or 3 years, about 3 years, or maybe a little over 3 years now. The city's been working with Tyler Technologies to adapt the citywide technical systems, all the software systems, all the internal systems over to come on into the year 2026 versus 1970s where we're at now, where we were with our former system. Seriously, the MOM system, 1970s technology. That's what we were using. Unsupported. No one knew how it, with the exception of one individual in the state of California that I know of that knew how to service and maintain it. But anyway, that's why we're here, and that's what this discussion is. It's not a lack of planning. It was proactive planning on behalf of the city before these other serious issues have popped up. So we're dealing with some serious issues. I hope that helps. I hope that answers some of your questions and why we're here tonight. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I will leave it up to the pleasure of the council.
So I have a question, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
If this item fails tonight or dies for a lack of a motion, I have a question for staff or Marty Brown, our city manager. Since the city engineer has not compiled the sewage information for currently or the August 10th deadline for tax rolls.
10th is the deadline, yes.
August 10th. It's July 17th. Typically, it takes the city engineer several months to get this information to a couple of months.
3 months.
3 months, 2 to 3 months.
Yep.
To get this information to the county. If we do not move forward with this position tonight, where are we at for roll up of all the sewage information to the county tax collector for inclusion on the tax rolls? Can that be done?
I don't know. I did contact last night the county finance department and asked them if for some reason this didn't go through tonight, could we roll back placing the residential on the property taxes? And would they still expect a full list, the required list of everyone who gets billed in the city? Because that's a requirement that they have every year, that we send them a new list, even if it's exactly the same as the previous year's list. So would they require that? I have not heard back from them yet, so I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if this didn't go through, my first call will be, tomorrow to the city engineer and see, can you come up? I mean, of course, it also depends on what's next on the agenda a little bit later. Can you pull together the role and the list in time for August 10th? I don't know. We'd have to have that conversation. Can the county consider just this year maybe not requiring us to submit it and use last year's list? I don't know what the answer is to that at this point. I mean, it's late in the game, and I guess we would just have to figure it out as we go along.
No, thank you, Marty. It's as clear as mud then. So yeah, right now, if that can be done. And again, this action item tonight, item 80, is only to adopt the job classification and the salary schedule. That's all. It's not hiring the individual. It's only adopting the job classification. Well, I just want to be clear. Just excuse me. Excuse me. I let me finish my thought. Okay. I'm looking at this agenda item. All right. Item 8A is to consider adopting the job classification and salary schedule. So this conversation tonight has gone out of that arena, but that's where we're at. So just want to clarify that.
Councilman.
Hang on. I have a
Sorry.
I have a quick
Time.
follow
The
up.
comment is over.
I have a quick
Councilmember Pride would like to speak.
question for the city manager. Kind of a two-part question. So if we were going to do our own utility billing, we were going to be able to come up with all that information without needing the city engineer. Am I correct? That was a conversation that I've seen in either some of the written stuff.
Yes, I think we responded to that today, that the city engineer doesn't need to be involved.
Okay, so what is so special about the engineers list that it's different than the data we have to put in our system?
It's the way that the county requires it to be delivered to them.
So it's a
what we're doing it
specific
ourselves,
format.
We don't need that.
So it's a specific format.
They want it all resubmitted.
Well, I'm asking about the format, like, an Excel spreadsheet, or is it a certain format? Because really, last year's data should be significantly the same as this year's data, because the only changes, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, would be if a house burned down or was demolished, we'd have building records to know that. Or if a new house was built for residential, we would know those changes. So if we had last year's list and we could replicate the format that the engineer uses, like I said, I could probably sit down and figure that out, So I don't know why the engineer takes 3 months to figure that out.
I don't have an answer for you. That's just how it's been the last several.
Okay, so I would just challenge that and say there's the opportunity potentially. I totally understand Cal Water not wanting to do this. I think when I asked you about it at National Night Out, Tavis, you literally said it's a public relations nightmare doing the billing, and not to put you under the bus, but it's what it becomes, right? No one likes a bill coming in their mail. And, so in my mind, our rollout is late. That's one of my concerns, is now we're getting ready to implement and we don't have everything ready. So we're hurrying and we're scurrying to get it done. I would feel more comfortable moving forward, understanding completely that Cal Water would love to exit this situation and say, let's do multifamily and single family residential on the tax rolls. I mean, at least make that effort. Let's then look at our commercial billing, and we have the unknown thing later in the meeting tonight about the rate study and if that gets adopted, and that's going to change things up a little bit. But I believe that we could do, I seem to be using the word hybrid a lot, but still moving forward, we've already invested in the technology. It would be a great way to do a trial run to only do commercial billings, because we want to get that off Cal Water's plate. There's volumetrics. We could test drive the whole system on the commercial aspect and let everything else be status quo, at least for the first year. And then if it looks like the billing system's working swimmingly and it's working very well, then we could by all means start pulling back the rest if we really think that's the best way to go. It's still cheaper, it seems like, to go through the county with, especially if we could do that list in-house. I just can't fathom why it takes the engineer 3 months and $7,000 to come up with a list.
If I could, the one thing I would say is about just doing the commercial in-house for like a year. There wouldn't really be enough work to hire somebody at the rate and the part-time level that we were talking about. So in order to do it, we would have to, we could reevaluate whether there'd be enough work for part-time. Maybe it's a lesser part-time person, I don't know, or whether or not the finance department, which is a 2-person department, can absorb that work. would have to be evaluated as well if we're just only going to do the commercial for a year and not do residential. And, I don't know whether or not we'll make the deadline of August 10th for the county. I'm not really, that's not something I've explored. And, as we've said before, this module was purchased over a year ago. This was all rolled out and discussed with the council in the previous fiscal year of June of 2025. Originally, last year's budget had a full-time person in there because I had a different finance director who had different ideas and vision of what that person might do. We weren't able to roll it out last year. And that finance director then left. And so everything got delayed again. We got a new finance director in January who thought it doesn't need to be a full-time position. We could just do part-time. We continued to move forward with the implementation. We'd already purchased the module. Joey, the finance director, has been training with Tyler to learn how to configure and how to roll out the entire billing system. We really have been working on this for over a year. If the council wants to put the brakes on it, certainly you can. I just don't know what the outcome is because, it is the 11th hour, right? And we've already notified the county and Cal Water that we would be taking it over this year. And so, I can't really speak to how this is going to go. We'll just figure it out as we go along, I guess.
There has been, yes, and now it's come down to the council to make a decision. No, it's time for the council to make a decision. I'm sorry, but if I keep opening up public comment, we'll be here until tomorrow morning. So, a pleasure to council with the questions that have been answered. You were allowed to make public comment during the public comment period, which I'm legally required to offer. So, pleasure of the council regarding item 8E. Ma'am, I'm gonna ask you to please stop or leave the premises. Okay? Touche. Pleasure of the council. Okay, with that, the motion dies. Next item, item 8F, Prentice Long PC, new contract for the municipal code update project. Recommended action, authorize the city manager to execute a new contract with Prentice Long PC through December 31st, 2026 to complete the City of Willows municipal code update. Councilmember Pride, you asked for this to be pulled.
I did. I apologize for making this a long meeting. This item was brought to us about a month ago to do a new contract with Prentice Long. They are the firm that was retained to do our municipal code update back in 2023. That contract is still in progress. However, the contract with them had expired on December 31 of 2024. When it came to the city's attention, the intent of this was just to get a new contract in place to cover the work that still needs to be done through the end of the year. The first time it came on our agenda, there was no contract to review, which I wasn't comfortable with. So we asked them to bring it back. It came back with just, we're going to use our standard contract template with the same scope of work. Again, it wasn't put together in a contract. So I wanted to see contract. So what we have in our package tonight is the item is to authorize the city manager to execute a new contract with Prentice Long through December 31 of 26. The contract that we got in our package, though, is not our new standard contract template with the scope of work. It's the original 2023 contract with Prentice Long. It still has an effective date of June 23rd. I'm sorry, it does have an effective date of June 23rd, but it's all the same contract. It shows the original dollar amount, but then it says that, they acknowledge the compensation authorized has already been paid in full by the city. This contractor has already been paid in full. They're now working for free to fulfill their obligations under the contract. There still has a termination provision. Can they still cancel now, even though they're on the hook for doing services that we've paid them for? So should we still have a termination provision? And the scope of work is still the same scope of work. Most of it should already be done. So it's not even clear in this new contract what exactly we're expecting them to do for no dollars through the end of the year. So when I just asked, where are we with our municipal code update? Prentice Long, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that Title 18 was taken away from them because they didn't have the planning expertise. That was contracted out with Harrison Associates under a different contract, which is where the food truck stuff was at, Title 18. In my conversation with the city manager yesterday, all the code sections have been reviewed by Prentice Long currently, but staff has still to review those drafts.
The final version. We've
final
done
version.
2 other reviews.
And so for me, I'd just be looking at, this just wasn't what we said we were going to get. It's just the old contract with some dates changed and then some new stuff inserted in it. The scope of work is still the same scope of work, which they've already performed a lot of that. So if we have a new contract, I guess I'd be looking to see what are the final things we're expecting them to do. Because now we have a firm that we're contracting with that's already been paid. So, what are we getting the work done that we need them to do? Is it getting done in a timely manner? What's the leverage that we have with this firm to get the work done when, they've already been paid? So that's kind of why I wanted to pull it. I just feel like it just doesn't say what this new contract is really supposed to do.
Well, I think as you pointed out, Councilmember Pride, it really should have been an extension. And if it was an extension, it'd be exactly the same as that contract. And it was an oversight that it wasn't extended. So
And it was a 1.5 year gap. And so I think I confirmed with the city attorney, you can't extend a contract that's lapsed for a 1.5 years.
correct. So it's a new contract, but we didn't change the scope because I'd have to go back and negotiate with them to change the scope. So it's exactly the same as it was before.
So if we adopt this tonight, it's just acknowledging that it's a mess and it's going to continue to be a little bit messy until we're finally just done by the end of the year.
The goal is to be done by December 30th.
So if they don't perform, we have no teeth. If we're not satisfied with the work they do, there's really no teeth there.
It's the same firm as our city attorney. So I would think that I think they would be reasonable and we could talk to them about it.
There are options at 7.5. And it's 7.
So as a city attorney, did you review this contract?
Got it. It's our standard.
Well, I just compared it because the original one's in the packet as well. I was just curious as a new contract, it was kind of the same contract with some dates changed, same scope of work. And if everyone's fine with that, I just, what I was expecting to see based on the conversation was our new contract template with a scope.
Well, it's my understanding that the template that was used originally is for legal services, which is the original one. And so we used the same one.
Okay.
That's legal services. And that's what I was advised to continue.
So what we
using.
had in our packet last time was just incorrect because you actually had the standard contract template on the dais saying that's what we were going to use at the last meeting.
I thought that was
Okay.
what we were going to use, but as Carlene was working on it and I started talking to the city attorney about it, their questions yesterday, it came to my attention that we should continue with the original version, which talks about legal services, which is often longer and more complex than the other professional services.
Thank you. With that, I just wanted that clarification. So I would move that we authorize the city manager to execute the new contract with Prentice Long PC through December 31, 2026 to complete the City of Willows Municipal Code update.
Second.
Okay. We have a first and a second. We'll go to public comment regarding item 8F, Prentice Long PC new contract for municipal code.
Marlena Sparkman.
Okay. We have a first and a second.
Miss-
Any further comment?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I was going to ask for discussion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is only a time extension. The fee remains the same. I don't see any problems with moving forward with this. It's simply a time extension, and I'm confident that Prentice Long will complete the task by the end of the year. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. How close are we with this Municode update being done? This is an extension from a 2020, essentially a 2023 contract, correct?
That's correct. Title 18 is one that we took
Right.
separate from
I'm
the rest
more
of it.
concerned about
Harris is
everything
gonna
else.
That's going to go to Planning Commission later this month.
Yeah, correct.
I think July 29th.
Yes, 28th or 29th, whatever the last Wednesday is of July.
So once that goes to the planning commission, assuming possibly there is a recommendation from the planning commission to the council, then we will be at a place where we'll be starting to look at the entire municipal code for a final time, basically, altogether, Title 18, along with all the other chapters that have already been completed so far by Prentice Long. There are some outstanding chapters and additions that were requested at the beginning of the process, and I have not received those yet, and they're not in the code yet. So I'll have to talk to them again about that as well. And then, I think Councilmember Pride can speak to this better than anybody about the idea about having additional oversight, and perhaps the city attorney had mentioned having a committee of people like planning commissioners, council members, and staff, and to go through with a fine tooth comb, because it is a big code, and possibly doing that versus joint planning commission and council meetings like we did before twice for Title 18, that maybe we move forward with that. That is on the July 28th agenda, to see if there's an interest on the part of the council to actually establish a committee for that additional oversight. At city attorney's suggestion and Councilmember Pride's interest in that. And so if we start doing that come August, we would just be working through all those chapters as a committee. That's something that interests the council come August, and work as quickly as we can to reach by December. And concurrently, I still need to discuss with Prentice Long those outstanding items that were not in the code before, and see where we are with those. But I think that the committee could start working on it now, once Title 18 has been reviewed by the Planning Commission on July 29th.
So essentially, we're on the first draft of our final draft, and now we're going to establish a committee to review it all. Our contract's going to go through December to make any minor adjustments that that committee finds. If
That's what I
approved.
would propose. Yeah, I mean,
Well, so what I understood from our conversation yesterday was that staff still needs to review everything, and then you might have things that would need to go back to Prentice Long. I mean, are you going to have, is staff going to do any final cleanup if there's changes? And the reason I ask that is because I haven't gone through the last 4 title sections, but all the other ones I've gone through, I have significant, like, just cleanup stuff, like gender things. And it's sort of like, I was sort of expecting from Prentice Long that, or a draft that we'd start seeing, would all that stuff, little minutia, would be cleaned up. And what I'm seeing isn't. So I'd specifically ask the city manager, is there another reiteration? I don't want to spend time going through them if there's another change, so I'm looking at the most clean reviewed copy possible. So I didn't know if staff's going to be doing a final review, or.
well, I was hoping that the committee could actually take that on. And if they don't want to take it on, then they can ask us to take that on. I mean, we're stretched a little bit thin here. So
That's fine. And I'm more than happy to be on that committee. I mean, I'm already read most of them, so I would be happy to continue to do that. Right.
Okay. With that, we have a first and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0. Next item on the agenda, item 8G, Civic Center ADA door upgrades project agreement amendment. Recommended action, adopt the Civic Center ADA door upgrades resolution attachment 1, authorizing the city manager to execute amendment 1, attachment 2 to the Bilson construction agreement. This was pulled by Councilmember Lori Pride and contact board.
Yes. And, there was just a lot of people that were having questions in the public, and there was stuff I didn't really understand on it either. So I thought it would be just productive. So I guess I didn't totally understand why we didn't have the original CDBG CV funding source was no longer available. And then not having read the contract or seen it, there was a long gap. But then the contractor was able to get a higher amount because time went over and materials increased and whatever those reasons were. So just curious, how we ended up where we are.
Yep. So the original funding was CB23 money from the county. The city entered an agreement or an MOU with the county. This was also funding that we did the ADA park improvements at Jensen with. So the engineering on this project took longer. I think we ran into some complications. It's not just a door upgrade. We're also doing the back parking lot and the front parking lot ADA space, which requires a path of travel upgrade. So we got kind of pushed back on that. We were able to get the park upgrades done. the state set a firm deadline of March of 2005 in order to complete the project. We went out to bid for this project publicly. Unfortunately, we only got one bid, so we had to come to council to ask to sole source that bid at that point. And then we were not able to start and finish the project before the March 31st deadline. So everything pretty much shut down on the funding level right there. We looked to identify new funding sources. That's when Rumiano Cheese sold the Masters Gallery and we were repaid our CDBG PI application. We started that CDBG PI application, I think submission in October of 25 was a really long drawn out process due to some NEPA issues and turnaround times. And then we finally got approval to do, we requested an early expenditure approval in April 2026. And coming back and getting that authorization, yeah, prices went up on materials. They had to renew their bond. And what happened in that gap, instead of them walking away, we were able to retain them and save, again, staff time and money on rebidding it. We probably would have been at higher bids anyways, and we didn't get but one bid on this go around. So they worked with us. They waited that year out and just paused the project for us and stayed under that current contract. So this amendment is to come back and increase those prices for materials and bonds, things of that nature.
And when we send it out to bid, because I know a concern of the community is, do we send things to our local contractors? Are they aware of how to look for the request for proposals or whatever that we put out?
Yeah, I don't know if they're aware of it. What we're working on doing is compiling a list of local contractors that we can send these bids out to so that they are aware of it. Again, local contractor, they need to be the right type of contractor. I think this was a general contractor, not a general contractor. I hope it was typed.
It's a general.
Well, yeah, but doing doors and pavement work is a little bit different of a deal. They can subcontract out to it, but the bottom line is we're working towards developing a vendor list of local professionals that we send it out to. So yeah, I don't know. I can't recall that long ago. I know it was done in the paper. It was a CDBG project, so it has a lot of heavy requirements. We had to do, I think, public meetings for it and things of that nature, but I don't quite recall the bid procedure. But it was publicly bid and in the newspaper and posted. When was it? So I think we went to.
I went back. I think it was originally the bids were in December of 24.
That
That's
would
when I
be
went back
correct.
to agenda packets to research this. So
Yeah.
it's been a while.
It was a long pause while we identified funding. So unfortunately, that was has been quite a while. And as people know, I think our library door is held together with lock and chain. So we've made a point to really start this process. Currently, they've got us their submittals. We'll approve this, and they're still ready to go and start this. And like I said, it includes parking lot upgrades as well. Passive project.
Thank you. I mean, that was literally why I pulled it, just
Yeah.
to have some.
Joe, I've got a quick
information.
question for you on this. When it comes to the bidding process on really this item or any items, local contractors, they do receive a discount. Did we not?
Currently, no.
Make it.
So there is nothing in our code that gives them a discount. So therefore, we cannot give them a
But
discount.
that is supposed to be adding to our muni
A
code,
typical
correct?
discount would be 5%. Yeah, that's kind of the standard.
Okay.
the
So I feel like
doc-
we had, I couldn't tell you when or how, but I remember we've had this conversation in
We
the
have,
past.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So that will be looking to get added to the municipal code for the bidding procedures portions of
The
it.
update, okay.
Glenn County's offers a 5% discount, not 5% off the project, but it goes towards them being more competitive with the bid.
Okay, then that's definitely something that, and I can bring it up later during council comments, but something to make sure it's under that muni code update
Absolutely.
that's being included in there. So, with that, is there any public comment regarding item, what are we on, 8G Civic Center ADA door upgrades project agreement?
Yeah, I'm Peggy White. Joe did explain part of this back in, because this came before the council in January 2025, that they had the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant for this to replace the two entrances. And the bids were due and received on December 10th, 2024. And you know, he's right, and there was one bid, but it was even non-responsive.
Mhm.
It did not meet the bid bond requirement. And it also, the staff that was doing the grant also noted that the contractor showed that 64% of the work would be done by subcontractors when half of it was supposed to be done by the contractor themselves. But at that time, the CDBG grant would have paid for the whole thing. Now, with this new CDBG grant, you are now looking at, as according to the staff report, that part of the money for this project is going to be paid from the library, and another $22,000 is going to come from the solid waste fund. So it's $28,000 that is coming from someplace other than the grant. And that's my comment.
Right. And on that comment, so the library, because the library doors are also being done. So was that even with the original, the CDBG CV funding? Was there always still the intention of
so
using
the project hasn't changed in scope since the very original. It's actually 3 doors. It's our back entrance door, our front entrance door to the Civic Center, and then the library doors. The library had building forward grant funds available, which is what I believed we used as part to do the HVAC units. So they had about $5,000 they wanted to contribute to the project. With the increases, once we got them, we took advantage of that, as there's not a lot you can do with the $5,000 as far as capital improvement projects goes. So we put that towards that, and they do need to be capital improvement projects, I believe, through that grant. So we took that piece of it, and then for the solid waste portion of it, I mean, there's always an opportunity to go back and amend the CDBG PI grant. I just don't want to wait another 7 months to it. And since our portion of the Civic Center does solid waste, has a lot of solid waste influence. It's a 15% portion of the bill.
So
It's
that
paid
was
by
a
solid
percentage.
waste, and that's not the entire project. That does not include the library door or their portion of the striping. That's 15% of our ADA parking upgrades and the 2-door project. So we really tried to separate that out to make sure that we weren't using any portions of the solid waste fund to contribute to the library piece.
So because that was a question I had. Thank you, Peggy, because I had methodology for the percentage or coming up with that 22,800. So there's a percentage of utilization of City Hall that's attributable to the administration of the
Correct, right? So
sewer
yes,
fund and all that.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So we own Willows Glass. We have a contract with the county to do all their work. We do doors. We don't do parking lots, but we have all the insurance, all the bond, citizens know, to bid on this project. But I can't bid on a project when it includes blacktop. So I think it should be divided into 2, because there is people in Willows that do blacktop. And then there's people, not just Willows Glass, but there's other door shops here in town that is more than capable of doing those doors.
Could you you could always bid it and potentially subcontract it out to that paving company. Depends on your license. Depends on your license, what it allows you
Well,
to do.
general contractor plus glazing contractors, so.
But noted, I mean, sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, that's a great comment and a great thing to think about. I would think sometimes our funding sources are just the cost of bidding
And
things
I can
separately and
guarantee we're gonna
coordinating
be
that.
less than Chico.
Yeah, you guys did our front office class.
Yes, we
Turned
did.
out Great. So we, like on those
So-
projects, we always try to shop local. This with the CDBG requirements, we're stuck with what we have to go. There's a ton of MeeBee-Weeby requirements. There's a bunch of additional reporting that's done with it. So a lot of people tend to stay away with it. But
don't.
like I said, yeah, it makes it
So
makes
am
it
I
more
able to
cumbersome.
still bid on it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because we're in current contract with them. So unless this amendment was to go through, they were willing to sit with us for a year through this process. So we really didn't want to go back out to bid for it.
Right.
But like I said, we're trying to build a list of local vendors that we can get similar projects out to. So
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Marlena Sparkman.
I don't know how long it takes to build a list, but I have the list. I have a list of every business in Glenn County. While I was sitting in my car tonight, while you guys were in your secret squirrel session, I looked up the contractors in this community, and there's about 8 or 9 that could probably do this job. After a year and a half, I would implore you to go back to bid again so that we could have this local. I think $169,000 is ridiculous. I'm not the one that looked up the bid, but I think that we still should give an opportunity to people in Glenn County. Those other people sat and waited. Okay, well, that's just a part of doing business. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And I think that we really need people in Glenn County to be getting the money from our city. not somebody from Chico. And if we only got one bid, then we clearly didn't make sure that enough people knew about the opportunity to bid for this. And if you'd like a list of 8 people, I'd be happy to supply you with it and their phone numbers and their cell numbers. So you could text them and say, hey, do you want to come in and give a bid? Because I know 2 guys that are going to call tomorrow. Thank you.
Michelle Knight.
Can I please get clarification on, um, is any of the funding actual grant money, or is all of this coming out of the city budget? I wasn't really clear on what grants went away, what may or may not have come back.
So in the agenda packet, CDBG program income is 188,000. So that's grant funding that we have that came from Rumiano paying off their loan that's available. It still has to be approved by the state how we use it, but it's money we have available.
Great.
5,600 from the library building forward grant funds. They wanted us to use that, so that's going towards the library portion of the project.
Of the doors there.
$22,822 from solid waste funds based on a percentage of administrative costs.
Mhm.
And for the total project budget of 216,422.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Johnson Madrone Manor, and possibly this has been said, but please clarify for me again. Why did we lose the money the first time?
So did we end up using all that money for the Jensen Park improvements?
No, we did not use all the money.
Okay, so did it go back to the county? I mean, that CV, the CDBG CV
So,
money.
yeah, it was coronavirus 2-3 money. And what happened is I think through the micro enterprise programs that they were doing to support businesses at that time, nobody was able to use the funding. So they released it kind of to open CDBG projects. We received some of that funding. City of Orland received some of that funding. The county used some of that funding. They kind of divvied it out for 88. I think everybody did 88 door projects under that guise. And so City of Willows was not able to complete their project by March 31st of 2025. So we did, like I said, we were able to complete the Jensen Park project, but we ran into delays on both the bidding and engineering side of that we were not able to.
So we ended up, there were project deadlines associated with it. And so did that money go back to the county or the city of Orland to be able to use then, or did it just go back to the state?
Everybody was done. So this money was all released back to the state of California. So anything not expended by the March 31st deadline was sent back to the state. So we were able to pay for most of the engineering through that grant. So not saying we didn't pay for anything, because until that March 31st deadline, we worked as hard as we could to get as much done. But not having a funding source after March 31st, that's where our contractor agreed to pause while we tried to identify additional funding. So we didn't incur cost to our general fund.
So it seems like we missed the boat.
That's
Again.
another way of saying it.
Okay, so then
The current funding is grant funding, and then
so then my second question is, when you use a general contractor, you're getting one bid for a very large project, and he's going to he's going to contract out to his 2 different providers. He's going to contract out for doors, and he's going to contract out for asphalt. And you're still paying that middleman top dollar for him just simply finding the 2 vendors. Versus if you broke it out and you got 3 bids for the doors and you got 3 bids for your asphalt, you would probably have better options and save quite a bit of money versus bundling this all up into one big contract bid where some guy's sitting at the top of the pyramid making the most money. That's all.
there's only 2 contractors on this project, one main and one sub, and you're not legally allowed to break out projects when they're of this nature. So there's no way to kind of pick and choose who you use. Prime contractor bids on it, and they will sub out the parts that they don't do. Some companies sub out a lot, some don't, depending on the work. So California law states you're not legally allowed to break out projects to get better pricing.
We have to love the state of California.
There we go.
All right. Public comment?
Pam Ackerman, I just have a couple questions, and it just seems to be reoccurring. We talk about these consultants, we talk about this contract. My first question on this contract, was there a city estimate that was given? I mean, did you have a city estimate before you went out for bid?
Sometimes I can't recall on this. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, and sometimes we release that to the in the bid and sometimes we don't. I really can't speak. I know that we would have had an engineer's estimate developed in order to do the grant application itself. So
Okay, so when you're doing proposals, you got one. How do you know those costs are even,
it was under the budgeted amount for the project, so the bid actually came in lower than we thought it was.
but that bidder was non-responsive, did you say, because he didn't have
Yes, and-
spawning requirements?
Yep,
So it wasn't a responsive bid, so how do you know that the prices are right?
because it was below our engineering,
How do you know your engineering estimate was right?
because professional engineers developed it. I can't give you a better, I can't give you a
So,
better answer than that.
You know, I did this for 20 years and I just can't understand how you can go out with one bid. He's underbid, he was non-responsive, so you didn't have a responsible contractor.
We were on a very tight timeline to get as much as the project done before that March 31st deadline. Unfortunately, we failed in that. So there was an urgency related to it and trying to push that contractor to do work as quickly as possible.
But it's just everything that we're doing. These
Well-
last two meetings I've been to, everything is crisis management. If it's not a law enforcement contract, it's a park bond that for $4.2 million that we've lost. Everything is
We have-
crisis management.
If you,
Well, it's
I'd
not,
encourage
nothing's been
everybody
done.
to read the city newsletter and get their updates from the city newsletter on where we're at on some of these projects. It's available on our website. It comes out monthly and it's got information regarding the park grant and some other things on it.
Okay. With that, pleasure of the council.
I would go ahead and move that we adopt a resolution next in line, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Willows approving amendment number 1 to the Civic Center ADA door upgrades project agreement with Bilson Construction Company, Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
And the only thing I'm going to say is we really do need ADA accessible doors for our people that need to get in these buildings, and particularly for the library, the doors are dismal. So we're going to live with what we have here and move forward. Get it done.
I agree. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0. All right. Now we will continue on to public hearing items. All matters in this section of the agenda are formal public hearings and will be acted on individually. Individuals wishing to speak on these items are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. Comments should be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. If you have any documentation you would like distributed to the council, please give it to the city clerk for distribution. Second. Okay. Item 9A, public hearing proposition 218 sewer rate increase. Conduct a public hearing and receive public comments and written protests regarding the proposed sewer rate adjustments. And upon conclusion of the public hearing, consider adoption of the resolution approving sewer rates for the 5-year period beginning August 1st, 2026. Contact will be Joe Betancourt. Joe, you have the floor.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, and members of the public. I want to begin by recognizing that any increase in utility rates has a real impact on residents and business, and as city staff, we understand that. The proposed rates are intended to cover the city's day-to-day sewer operations, existing debt, appropriate emergency reserves, and approximately $7.8 million in needed capital improvements over the next 5 years. The proposed rate funded program funds projects such as sanitary sewer number 002. This is budgeted at $412,000 and continues the Yolo Street sewer main improvements from Oak Street to South Ash Street. CCTV inspections identified aging pipe with cracks, holes, offset joints, sags, and defective concerns that contributed to blockages and groundwater entering the sewer system, which also raises our price to process rainwater. And talking to our Infomark consultant contractor that runs the wastewater treatment plant, on rain days, we see an increase from 25% to 150% in the amount entering the. So we've got major structural deficiencies within our pipe. We've got another project in our capital outlay of $2.4 million. This is a new replacement project in the alley between Plumas and Shasta Streets from Laurel Street to Wood Street. The 2024 engineering assessment document showed severe sags, cracks, fractures, holes, root intrusion, deformed and offset pipe, obstructions, and sections that cannot be fully inspected due to the camera not being able to pass through it, either it being collapsed or the offsets were so severe that the camera couldn't go. Then we have $1.2 million set aside for an unidentified project. That unidentified meaning that we would go back and CCTV all the two previous projects we have completed CCTV inspections on and know what we're dealing with. The $1.2 million project, we kind of go down the list of our priorities for another CCTV look and repair. In addition, the rate study also includes a series of wastewater treatment plant improvements. The projects address the plant clarifiers, disinfection systems, chemical storage, chemical feed equipment, operation safety, SCADA monitoring, alarms, and other aging treatment equipment. Program also includes scheduled replacement of our sewer utility vehicle that performs inspections, maintenance, blockage response, lift station work, and treatment basically of our system. So what that is that's our vacuum truck. They're approximately $700,000 to $850,000. This CIP puts away money each one of those 5 years so that we can replace this aging equipment. We currently just bought a new pump for it for a price of $40,000, and eventually it's not going to be there for us. So as a part of the CIP, we wanted to include that price of $850,000 to purchase a new one in 5 years, and we're just hoping that our current one makes it that long. Without the proposed revenue, the city cannot complete this capital program on the schedule presented. Projects would need to be delayed, reduced, or made dependent on grants that may not become available. Delaying the work does not eliminate the underlying pipe defects, equipment problems, safety concerns, or regulatory requirement. It generally increases the risk and eventual cost. We've looked at cities recently that I think Roseville had a nice sewer leak going into the Sacramento that costs them a lot of money. So if we don't deal with these issues now, we're going to pay for it one way or another, whether it's deferring it down the road or attacking this issue up front. The purpose of the proposed rate is to continue the progress already made, complete the identified sewer main replacement, maintain the wastewater treatment plant, and provide a stable, planned approach to the city's sewer infrastructure. And I just want to add one more thing to this. So our previous completed projects, which include sewer main replacement and the lift station rehabilitation and bar screen and SCADA systems repairs at the wastewater treatment plant, were funded by a previous bond. So all of these upgrades are in continuation of the progress that we've already made to continue to upgrade both our plant and our system. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to the real professionals here, Sophia Mills from L&T Municipal Consultants, who's going to give a little presentation and overview of what we've done so far on this Prop 218 study.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, council members and members of the public. So my name is Sophia Mills. I'm with the firm LT Municipal Consultants. We are a firm that specializes in utility rate studies for cities throughout the state. And since earlier this year, we have been working with the city to complete the sewer rate study. So I'm going to go ahead and give a brief presentation just to go over how we went about that process and give an overview of the proposed rates. So if you go to the next slide, please. So the city's sewer fund is an enterprise fund, which is operated similar to a private business. It's separate from other city funds like the general fund, and is funded entirely by rates contributed by customers. So the rates paid by each customer represent that customer's share of the cost to operate the system, as well as complete the capital improvements that Joe mentioned. So utility rate setting is governed by the state law Proposition 218, which allows for rates to be set over a 5-year process through a rate study. So the city most recently went through this process in 2021, and that set rates through July 1st, 2025. And this rate study is proposed to set rates from August 1st of this year through the next 5 years, extending into fiscal year 2031. So the requirements for any Proposition 218 rate study require that, like you all got in the mail, the city provides notice to all customers, all impacted parcels, that rates are being proposed to increase, and then we hold a public hearing, which is tonight. So if you go to the next slide, please. So like I mentioned, we've been working on the rate study throughout this year. In both April and May, my colleague Allison and I were here to present draft results. After our presentation in May was when notice was mailed to all customers. And then tonight is the hearing to consider rate adoption. So Allison and my role in this process is that what we did was we reviewed the city's publicly available financial information, which was the basis of calculating the rates. So they're based on the city's adopted budget, the city's capital improvement plans, which were prepared by staff and the city engineer, as well as past audits showing the financial performance of the sewer enterprise fund. And what we did was we took this information and used that the budget and the capital improvement plan to forecast the revenues required to maintain the sewer enterprise over the next 5 years and proportionally allocate those costs among the city customers. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So the key considerations, the main factor driving the proposed increases to the rates are the crucial capital improvement projects that Joe mentioned. The other important component of the rate study is ensuring that the proposed rates are proportional to how each customer uses the system. So what happened is that for non-residential customers, it's proposed that some of the rates will decrease, and multifamily rates are proposed to increase based on estimated sewer flows, which are based on water usage data available from Cal Water and industry standard estimates from other agencies in the area. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is just a brief overview of some of the important capital projects, which Joe already mentioned. So there's about 8 million in projects over the total span of the next 5 years that the rates will allow the city to finance. And the main goal of the capital improvement plan is to proactively repair aging components of the sewer system before emergencies occur. If the city does not invest in capital projects, it's likely that they would have to pay for emergency repairs, which are going to be more expensive than doing some of these proactive pipeline replacements, replacing the sewer, cleaning, Vector truck, things of that nature. So if you go to the next slide, please. Here's just an illustration of our financial projection over the next 5 years based on the city's budget and capital improvement plan. If the city does not increase rates, it's forecasted that the sewer enterprise will lose nearly $4 million over the next 5 years. And that's primarily because it would not be able to finance the capital improvement plan. Whereas with the proposed rate increase, it's projected that the city will finance total operating expenses, existing debt payments, as well as the 7.8 million of capital projects. So if you go to the next slide, please. I'll now go over briefly the current rates in comparison to the proposed rates, because there are a few slight changes proposed. So currently, all customers, regardless of customer class, pay a fixed charge. For residential customers, the fixed charge is the only portion of their bills. For commercial customers, they pay both a fixed charge and a volumetric rate, which is based on water usage. So the proposed rates, if you'll go to the next slide, please, are similar. For residential customers, it's proposed that they continue to be billed only fixed charges. For commercial customers, it's proposed that the fixed charge includes a base amount of sewer usage, which is set equal to the equivalent usage of the capacity that the city requires in the system for one residential unit, which is kind of how the system is designed with that capacity in mind. And then the volumetric charges for commercial customers will only apply to excess usage above that, which is more costly for the city to treat. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So here's a comparison of how the proposed rates compare to the surrounding community for the typical customer in the city. So the majority of the city's customers are single-family residential. For those customers, it is proposed the bill will increase by about $1 per month, from about $74 to about $75. If you go to the next slide, please. So from here, we can now open the public hearing. We're available to answer any questions, and then we will close the hearing and count protests. So the way that works is that any customer in the city can submit a protest, and if below 50% of customers submit protests, you as a council will be allowed to vote on the proposed rates.
Thank you, Sophie. And I'll just add one more thing, that if you guys have protests with you and need to drop them off, we have them right here, and you'll need to do that before the public hearing closes and the count starts.
Okay, is there any questions from the council regarding the presentation? Vice Mayor Thomas?
Question. So, this is an estimate of things that we need to repair, like pond liners. And I know there's been quite a bit of work to try to determine whether or not we actually need to do the pond liner. And if we don't have to, then that's an expense we don't have. So we could then go back and reduce the rates based on not having to do that particular project.
That's correct. So the legal requirements at this point are that if the rates are adopted, the rates that were mailed within the Proposition 218 notice will be the legal maximum that the city can adopt over the next 5 years. However, if you decide to adopt a rate that is lower than what is in the notice at any point during the 5 years, that would be allowed without conducting an additional hearing. However, if you wanted to raise rates higher, that would be the only time you would need to do a new rate study and a new mailing notification.
Couldn't raise it, but we could lower it. So if we got a big fat grant that we've applied for, that would be the same thing, right? So we get a grant to put in 2,000 feet of sewer line.
Yep. So
then we could actually then reduce these expected.
Yes, absolutely. So grant funding comes along, or the pond liner reduces in cost, then we could adjust that. And what we would do is we'd bring that item back to council and see how they wanted to proceed on those rate adjustments. Obviously, if we don't increase, we can also move money to do an infrastructure pipe project and keep the rates the same, or reduce the cost to the customer, and we would bring that to you for a decision made.
Thank you. No more questions.
So a question I had, and I asked Joe this ahead of time, as we look at the capital improvements, you'll hear us say a lot that our sewer system is 100 years old. Not all of it anymore, because we did do new lift stations and we have done some sewer main replacements. How much additional, we have things in this 5-year CIP and our sewer rate study, but after we do what's the 2 bigger projects for sewer main lines in this 5-year, are we going to see this on a 5-year cycle for the next 20 years? Or are we going to see an end coming to getting all of our mains replaced, or the ones that are the most troublesome?
We've got a lot left to do. I don't have that all programmed. So before that, we did this CCTV work. I think it was 2009 was the last inspections we done. So we do have a kind of a rate and rank of those lines, and there was a lot more done at those times. Obviously, they haven't gotten better if they haven't been replaced. But the goal would be to, we're going to have things like the back truck. They're going to be paid down at the next 5-year mark, right? So that will come off. The pond liner, hopefully, is less expensive and is a one-time expense. So that comes off. So the goal would be to keep it around this almost $8 million CIP, or we could choose to not add as much on the next go around. But we wanted to get the CIP up to a level where we felt we could make good progress on repairing wastewater treatment plant things and pipe. So, I can never promise you, and I'm sure you wouldn't believe me if I did, but I think that the rates in the next 5 years will either stay the same or be slightly less than what we're looking at due to those things coming off. And we've got old clay pipe, so you replace it with a new PVC, you're seeing 60 to 80 years, and that's expected life. Obviously, that's not even, clay is a lot less than that, but we get it out of it. So That's my generic answer. It probably will be as things go and wastewater treatment plants need major upgrades. That's what we're trying to avoid, is not hitting everybody at once with those kinds of.
So are we also, so we have the bond repayments that are about 500 plus thousand every year in the O and M portion of the rate study. How long is it going to be before those are repaid? Is that many, many, many years, or is there a light at the end of the tunnel on those?
I think it's 40 years, Marty, but I'm not sure on that.
So it's many.
It
Many,
is many years.
many, many, many
It is
years.
Many
Okay.
years.
And is it our thought that as we collect potentially additional revenue, that we're paying as we go, as opposed to tapping into any further bond? Or is there still bond money that can be utilized that we're paying against? I'm not sure I understand completely how the bond.
Bond money's been the certificates of participation that was bonded in December of 2021. Those are pretty much expended.
Yeah.
The only thing left was to purchase the SCADA, and then we're going to close that out. And so that's the only bond money we have at this time.
And that's a 40-year payment plan.
I'll have to verify
I'll
that.
have to verify and
Okay.
get back to you. I don't know.
Thank you. See it.
Yeah, the final payment is expected.
That'll be here before I'm in the scary thing. So that's 20.
20 more years. Yeah.
That's much better.
Yeah.
I mean, not great.
I knew I shouldn't have guessed at it anyways.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Sophia, for your summary and outstanding job on your sewer rate study altogether, I will say. I know that when Councilmember Thomas first came on the council, our last sewer rate study, there were concerns in reference to multifamily charges specifically. And I'm just, could you speak a little more to that? You can do it much more eloquently than I can in reference to the multifamily use increases and the commercial. You touched on it, but the commercial reductions for the most part, except for the level 3, the sewage treatment. And if you could please just mention the 3 types of treatment versus the 8 categories we currently have, just for
Sure.
the audience. So thank you.
Sure. Yes, I can give some more detail. So to calculate each customer's rates, there's 3 main components of costs that are being recovered. The first is customer service costs, which are the same for each customer regardless of the customer class. So about $40 out of the proposed bill for each customer is attributable to customer service costs, which include fixed expenses for the city, like staffing, insurance, and a portion of other kind of more overhead general expenses. The remaining components that contribute to each customer's proposed bill are related to estimated sewer flow and sewer strength. So sewer flow refers to the quantity of wastewater that each customer contributes into the system. So for residential customers, what we found is that on average, single-family residential customers discharge about 8 units of flow into the system per month. And that's measured in 100 cubic feet or gallons, units like that. So that's 8 units for a single-family customer in comparison to a multifamily residential customer uses about 6 units per month. So about 75% of what a single-family customer uses. So the reason that the multifamily customers bill is proposed to increase by more than the single family customers bill under the current rate structure is because at current rates, the multifamily bill is, I think, about 57% of a single family customer's bill, which is not in proportion to their estimated use of the system. So that's how the bill was calculated. It's about $40 toward customer service and then 6 units of the cost of flow. Commercial customers are calculated similarly, where there's a $40 customer service component and then there's a flow charge. However, for commercial customers, the strength of flow for each customer varies much more widely depending on the type of business. So some customers have very low pollutants in their sewer flow. Like if they're not preparing any food on site. And that would be customers that are currently in the like car wash and laundry categories. They're proposed to be in the new low strength category. Other customers are discharging flows that are much more costly for the sewer or sewer system to treat. So those customers are proposed to be in the high strength category, which is restaurants, bakeries, markets, and morgues. So restaurants, for instance, are doing a lot of food prep. So they going down the drain is a lot of fats, oils, and grease. And when that gets to the treatment plant, it's much more costly to treat. So the flow and strength portion of their bill is proposed to be higher than the low strength customers. The remaining commercial customers, so that's customers that are, let's see, they're currently classified as hospital and rest home, the jail, motel, hotel, and all other commercial are proposed to be in the medium strength customer category, which has sewer strengths that are similar strength to a domestic residence in terms of the amounts of fats, oils, grease, and other pollutants. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does perfectly. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah, thank you. I don't want to cut you off. Are you
Oh,
finished?
no, that's
Oh, okay. No, very good. No, I just so that all the information is in your report, and I completely understand it, but I just, for the
Yeah.
public, for audience members, information and those watching online, I thought it was real important to, mention the fact that those multifamily increases needed to be done, and that is proposed, and also the commercial reductions is very good news for the low strength and medium strength classes, with a slight reduction for the high strength with markets and morgues and that type of things with all of the oils and greases in the water treatment. No, thank you, Sophia, very much for that information. And Vice Mayor Thomas asked a question about the maximum assessments. These are the maximum assessments, and at any time the council on a majority vote can lower the assessments. And I certainly hope to be in position one day to do that. Last year, I believe, Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, last year or year before, the city applied for an 11 or $12 million, I believe it's about a $12 million loan to completely reconstruct the sewer mains in the city, all of the aged sewer mains. And at this point, roughly 60% of the sewer mains are a century old or more, clay mains, and they're crumbling, they're cracking, as Joe mentioned earlier. And that's our problem. It's an old community with old infrastructure over underneath, 60% of our acreage feet, so to speak, right now. But it's important in the fact that I pay way too many taxes and assessments. I don't like paying taxes and assessments, but this is really important. It's a health and safety issue. It's about our sewage. We don't see it because we're not supposed to see it. It's underground. And when we see it, that's a flat out emergency. And that's a very costly emergency with our state licensing. that would be the tens of thousands at least per day in fines if that happens. And that's what we need to prevent, and being proactive on replacing this old line and the old infrastructure and keeping up with the sewer upgrades is real important. And Joe mentioned the Vector vacuum truck. Joe, what year is that rig? I should know that. I'm sorry to put you on the
No,
spot.
I should know
You
that.
don't know
I
either.
don't, don't know the exact.
It's
year,
old.
but, it is very,
Because it's orange back when all the public works equipment was orange, and it's the only orange piece of equipment left, I believe. No, the dump truck, I guess.
yeah, we do have.
So,
yeah,
but that's a 2-axle, and there's a lot of weight on that truck.
it is.
And that frame is stressed.
And when we look at useful life of back trucks, we normally see them at 5 years. I'm guessing all at 20 or.
Oh, that's
30.
That's got to be that's an 80s model.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I forget where
It's pre 90.
So we've gotten our useful life out of it. And like I said,
Yeah.
we did just replace the pump. And so, yeah, the time for a new one, this is crucial to preventative maintenance of the storm pipes. And we have an emergency. It was down for 2 to 3 months while we waited on a new pump, a new part. So that's the other thing. It's not easy to get these specialty parts in a quick manner. It's not like going to O'Reilly. So when it goes down, we have an issue. And it did go down, and we did have a sanitary sewer overflow while it was down. Had to rely on our neighbors to the north in Orland to bring their truck down. And unfortunately, so yeah, some water did get in the drainage system, and so we've got to report that. But we were able to get people down to help us. So that's, like I said, a crucial piece of equipment to keep the pipes clean, both on preventative maintenance and emergency response.
Yeah, no, thanks, Joe. Yeah, there were just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I believe at the public safety, the day of the the public works open house, I believe.
Yeah.
It occurred that morning. Yeah. And the truck was down for a period of time because
Yes.
the pump went out. And thank God we have an outstanding mechanic on board to, of course, the delays in receiving the pump were weeks and weeks. But anyway, that was rectified. So thank you.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to point that out, and the fact that the first year proposed increase for the residential customers, you mentioned it's 89 cents for the first year. And if we were not successful in obtaining that roughly $12 million grant last year, unfortunately, but if we are, definitely I'd be the first one to request that we lower the assessments, absolutely, when we can. And for a note, the Glen Groundwater Authority just very recently this budget cycle, approximately a month ago, we did lower our per acreage assessments, which also benefits the city of Willows and Orland, with utilizing the Proposition 218 process from our maximum assessment. First time since we started the assessments in 2019, we're able to do that. So it'd be nice to be able to do that here in the city. But right now, we're not in that position. This $7 million in infrastructure improvements need to be done. They have to be done. And we do have a 5-year schedule for those. And it's once again, I think your plan is very reasonable, and you put a lot of time and effort into it. And I think it's a very fair, common sense based plan. So thank you very much for your outstanding work, ladies. Very good job.
Yeah. So just a really quick follow-up comment, because Sophie, you were talking about the rates. So when we look at the commercial under the volumetric charges, under the medium strength, there's just other commercial. So anybody who doesn't fall into car wash, laundry, hospital, rest home, motel, hotel, jail, market, or restaurant is going to be other. So would a retail store downtown be considered other and a medium strength?
That's correct.
Okay, so just for anybody who's not on the list that are retail, you're going to be a medium strength. So your base is going to be based on the medium strength.
That's correct.
With eight HFCs included. in that.
To emphasize, the volumetric charge is currently billed for all usage, whereas it's proposed that it will only be billed for customers using above 8 units.
So there's a good chance if you've been commercial retail, very little water usage in your facility, that you're going to see a much simpler, consistent billing on the commercial side of things. You won't have as much volumetric change.
Yes.
Sorry, my turn, right? So I was just doing some math. I was curious because I came onto the council, I think after the last sewer rate billing had been done, study had been done and approved. And I heard a lot from restaurants and different businesses about how the rate had increased. And so you guys did a great job breaking that out here on the back of the bill impacts and everything else on pages 202 to, I think it starts at 1. I think it starts on page 200 and ends on 202. And so I do like seeing that at least the commercial aspect of this is going down, based off the complaints that I remember hearing, like I said, when I first started on the council, 43% for certain restaurants, 35 for depending on their usage, in different billing situations like that. So with that, I did have one question for you, Joe. When we are looking at this 5-year plan, are we seeing any sort of inflation increase on any of the projects? that are coming up. So I think one of the projects that we have on here is the pond liners, which I believe right now we're quasi not 100% sure if we have to do those or not now.
We're in a big, there's a big gap from $4 million to full concrete liners to $0 that your mud is good. So yes, a big gap.
So what happens then if we end up being stuck with the $4 million concrete liner to the current?
We
current
look
rate
for
study?
ways to fund that. We look for emergency relief. We look for grants and work with the state on trying to figure that out. We would not be able to raise the rates. We could potentially shift allocation of other type projects to that, right? Because we're not raising the rate, so we could alter our CIP to cover those costs. Not optimal, but if we were in an emergency situation, that would probably be the last resort. And like I said, working with the state on timelines is kind of what we'd be down to at that point.
So then that kind of brings up a follow-up question. Let's say for some reason the rate study was not approved of tonight
Mhm.
and it gets pushed off for another year. Does a new rate study have to be done? Or does this one still exist for us to approve at a later time?
Sophie might be a better answer. So if they didn't approve tonight, are you saying like, could it be pushed out and approved at a later, like picked up in next fiscal year potentially? Or Allison, do
Correct.
you want to speak to this?
Mhm.
So if there was no decision, I just to clarify and say absent a majority protest, which means we could vote for it tonight, but say we chose not to. And then we decide in a year, maybe wait for more concrete information. Could we still not have to repay for the full rate study and these numbers would still be valid in
Okay.
the study?
You wouldn't be able to go up without redoing it.
Right, we couldn't go
Okay.
up, but we could always adopt it later.
Yeah. My concern would be is if it did get kicked down the road,
Mhm.
then we come back and we do have to do concrete, and then they have to do a new, I was worried that we'd have to do a new rate study. I know we have to do 4 million, and then these numbers where we're decreasing end up skyrocketing. Because now we have a $4 million.
Yeah, I
project
mean,
doing
it
everything.
would have to go,
Change
if we wanted to pay for it, if it was $4 million, we would have to do a whole new study. Or we would put all the $7 million that we have assigned to every piece of our CIP into that one project. So we can adjust the CIP, we just can't be above, we can't increase it.
And I'm not an engineer, but the fact that they thought, the sewer ponds aren't lined, it's a huge concern. And it's like, well, we just redid the system in like around the year 98, whenever we did it. Why didn't we line them? And now they're finding that based on the soil studies that we have soils that we may not need to line them. Well, that makes sense. We all hate our clay soils, but they do come in handy. So the money that we still have to spend, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but to validate that we may not have to do concrete liners, we'll need to do a few more soil borings and samples, and we may have to do another kind of a permeability layer. There's new stuff besides bentonite now that, does a better job. So instead of the 1.4 million that's currently showing up in the rate study, it's hopefully going to be much less. So that's the positive to the other. So I'm feeling very optimistic. It's not going to go the other way, that it's going to be less.
Yeah, you said 1.4, not, I swore I heard you say 4. So that's
four-
my hearing.
That's in this. So in our rate study, it's 1.4 spread over 2
Right,
years.
that's what I saw.
But in our actual CIP plan that we adopted as a city, it's got bigger numbers in there, but we chose not to pull them into the rate study because we're mindful that that's painful for all of us, right? Trying to keep it as low as we
Got it.
can.
Okay.
So it is in the CIP.
Just clarifying that I did
No,
for
no,
4 million.
yeah,
My
it's
hearing
4 million.
wasn't already.
That is the worst case scenario, but we've had some good productive meetings with the Water Quality Control Board and, we're tending towards hopefully we don't have to do anything, but we may have to do something, but it's probably not $4 million concrete liner, right? So the current rate study though, correct, where you mentioned is $1.4 million as hedge bet middle ground at this point.
Okay. All right. With that, any further questions from the council?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Thomas? Okay. With that, we will open this up to,
Could we
Oh,
take a
sorry.
Brief 5
Yeah.
minute.
can we
just
take a
before we
quick,
open the public hearing.
can we take a quick 5-minute recess? We're
Thank
not able to step
Thank
out
you.
and use
Yeah.
facilities.
Yeah.
So we'll take a 5-minute recess at
Concentration
8:24 to return at 8:29. Okay, we are reconvening at 8:33 and we will open this up to public hearing. Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me. So we will open this up to public hearing at 8:33. Is there any public?
Alan Birkin,
I think he
Jess-
was in the front row. I think he left.
Jesse Orndor,
Good evening. I know that there's several types of grants and things that are out there. Have any of those been applied for in lieu of raising the tax?
And Joe, have we applied for any recent grants that you can think of that would?
So the state revolving loan fund, for $11 million, I think that was brought up earlier. That was originally applied for CCTV work, and the state came back and recommended that we apply for $11 million. Unfortunately, I think the funding kind of there wasn't a lot of it on our application cycle, so we were not awarded. I don't know how many were awarded, didn't sound like a lot, but we were kept in the cycle for upcoming years. So we continually check in with them to see if we could potentially be.
Okay.
Okay, so with those potentials, the amount of monies needed would drastically reduce the amount of requirement for the upcoming taxes. The additional concern that I had was just about a month ago, I sat through one of these meetings and I listened to Joe report on the current taxable monies that we had exceeded the amount that we required, and we had the ability to decrease the tax at that point. However, it was recommended to this council that we not do that so that we could take that surplus money and get ahead on some of these other capital projects. And for that, I understand, and I absolutely agreed at that moment. But if we were in the position a month ago to lower the tax, why are we now a month later looking at increasing the tax?
John Lowe,
My name is John Lowe. Good evening, Mayor Hudson, council members. Most of what I'm discussing was sent to you in an email dated July 12, 2026. I'm not disagreeing that repairs need to be made. It's how it's paid for. I've reviewed the April 28th, 2025 rate study presented by LT Municipal Consultants. The study states the financial plan is to finance capital improvement plan, $7.8 million over the next 5 years, and the rate increases are needed to fund capital improvements. This rate study was done without any consideration for grants or CWSRF 100% principal forgiveness loans. That's not just, and it's unreasonable. For Prop 18, Article 13D, Section 6B3, sewer fees may not exceed the proportional cost of service. The April 2025 rate study bases the increase, $7.8 million, with zero grant offset. No FAST application numbers, no USD-RD applications, no EDA or EDR contact, and no congressional earmark request have been disclosed. Without written denials for these programs, for these grants, the city can't meet its burden of proving the full $7.8 million is needed as a cost to the ratepayers. Approving rates without exhausting available funding is arbitrary under Government Code 53756 and vulnerable to Prop 218 challenges. There's three things I request tonight. Direct the staff to release all FAST numbers, grant applications, and congressional correspondence within 7 days. Request a continuance of this Prop 218 vote until the public receives written proof that these programs were actually denied funding to Willows. And number three, report back if the grants can reduce the $7.8 million burden. Approving these rates before pursuing grants, free money, low interest loans violates your fiduciary duty to the ratepayers. Thank you.
Michelle Knight. That's all the cards I have.
Okay. Is there any further public comment for this public hearing? Okay. We will call for public for protest submissions. Have we received all those already?
Unless there's any more in the audience that would like to submit them, this is probably your last chance, so.
Okay, and now we will go into recess for a final protest count. We'll go into recess at 8:40.
Stamp away.
You ready? Okay, we are reconvening at 8:55. And let's see here. Reconvene, announce the protest results. So the total number of protest letters received was 360. And with that, we will be closing the public hearing at 8:56. And now it is up to the pleasure of the council.
Well, we have a lot of information, and I know there's been a lot of concern about the rate increases. I like what I heard Mayor Hudson kind of ask the question about, can we defer this decision tonight and come back, at a little bit later time, without losing any ground with our consultants and without having to go through a cost of updating a study. I think I would be of a mindset that we would postpone a decision on this for a couple of reasons. One, I think some of the information brought forward by John Lowe. I'm thinking that the city probably has already looked at a lot of these grant opportunities and whatnot, but I think if there's any opportunity to uncover any other stones to see if there's another way to fund something, and even if that answer ends up being no, we'll have, uncovered every stone. I think that the first year, the rate study is very comparable to our current rate study. So if we continue at the $74 and change for another however long, say a year, we haven't lost very much ground. And I would also say in the next year or less, we would have a better idea of what our sewer pond lining situation is going to be. And then if that is a decrease in cost, then possibly we could just make a change. So I'm just mindful, we've heard people loud and clear, just kind of afraid of these increases and what it means just personally day to day. A lot of people are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck. If we can put off a decision and it's really no harm to the city and our goal of having a good sewer program and sewer mains that don't fail and doing the right thing, for the community as a whole, and just have a little more time, I would not have an issue with that. I appreciate the efforts of the community to get out and make sure everyone was aware that this was going on. I would also say that I would really encourage our community. We do meet twice a month. We have a regular schedule. It can be a fun town hall Tuesdays or whatever. Let's make it a party. We can have coffee before, after. We've talked about this for 2 meetings and no one was here. And then it's a surprise when people get a notice. And, my mind always goes to, how do we keep people more engaged on a regular basis? And I know I learn a lot more, or I think of more questions to ask when I'm actually talking to you all. So having you coming to the meetings and being engaged and paying attention is huge. And frankly, I get tired of being beat up on Facebook because, we're trying to pull a fast one when we've talked about it at 2 meetings and they're all open meetings in public. So, we all live here together, right? So we can all, kind of learn together and work together. So that's what I would think at the end of this
Okay.
process.
Vice Mayor Thomas?
Based on concept of being able to lower the rate if we were to get grants or eliminate costs that we didn't have, I see no reason to postpone adopting these rates that are required. We go through this process, 218 process on a regular basis. Effectively, we had money to be able to do the sewer lift station because we had a former council that prepared for and made sure we had the money to do that. And I think it's critical mass. When I flush the toilet, I want everything to go away. And I know that through the CCTV images, we have sewer lines that have separated or this far apart. And so the inflow of water from when it's raining, what is it, almost doubles the water?
Yeah, anywhere from, depending on the amount of rain, 25% to over 100% increase in the amount that's taken in the plant.
So I would be very much in favor, if we don't have to line our ponds, that it be brought back to council. If we were to get any grant monies, that it be brought back to council for us to reduce these rates. So I would be in favor of passing this.
And if I could just add to mine, I think, Vice Mayor Thomas has a good point. And I think one of the other benefits of moving forward, again, keeping in mind that year one is very similar, is it does change the rate structure. So it is putting more of the cost on the multifamily and it is adjusting the commercial rates so that they're actually lower. So, there's some trade-offs to adopting it for some of our users. They might prefer to go to the new rate structure because it's actually going to be beneficial to them as opposed to not. So look at it both ways.
Councilmember Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Vice Mayor Thomas's comments. If we kick this can down the road, that's how we got into these large rate increases 5 years ago. And that we've come full circle around with millions of dollars in improvements because the can was kicked down the road for 14 years. And then there's a large bill. But if we delay this for a year, we're going to have a large number, most of our commercial users, most of our businesses are going to be paying higher rates. If we approve this tonight as presented, most of the commercial users are going to be paying lower rates. The residential increase is 89 cents per month for the first year. That's what we're talking, 89 cents per month, 89 cents times 12. That's what it's going to cost the residential users for the first year. These are the maximum rates. And as Rick said, with the Prop 218 process, we can always lower the rates. So if we do, and staff will be pursuing grant funding as they always are for every operational need in the city. We've obtained a number of grants for all kinds of different things, and staff and this council will encourage, and staff I know will be on it and attempting to pursue all grant funding. But creating a budget on grant funding, that's impossible because that's a big wish list, and we're turned down for grants much more often than we receive grants, and all municipalities are in that boat, unfortunately. If we had a crystal ball and we got, if there's 6 grants and we were able to successfully get 3 of them, and we knew we were going to be having $10 million in grant funding coming in, sure, but that's not the case here. I think it's irresponsible to kick this down the road. We don't need any kicking down the road we did for 14 years prior to 5 years ago. We can always lower the rates, and I'm a proponent of lowering the rates. Like I said earlier, the Glen Groundwater Authority, which I serve on that board and I chair it, and we lowered our assessments this year for the first time ever. We were able to. We had enough reserve, at least for 1 year, and hopefully moving forward. But this council will do that if we can, if we don't have to. With the sewage treatment on the clay soils, I alluded to that earlier. Currently, and some of you may have seen this, but currently Williams, well, last year, 2025, City of Williams, sits in clay soil, slightly smaller than Willows, but very, very similar. I've judged the clay soils there, so I know what kind of soils they have, identical to Willows. They're currently paying $99 a month for residential users. Are currently paying $99 a month. So I think that puts us in a, you know, we're obviously in a much cheaper position than Williams is. Similar sized cities, very similar soils, and it's all based on the soil structure. Hear this all the time. In Orland, the sewer rates are much lower. What are they here? What were they at? Orland in 2026, $37. You know why? That's because Orland doesn't have to treat their sewage. It's in sludge ponds out by the airport because they're on gravel strata. We're on clay soil, so the state of California, we're mandated for tertiary treatment here, which Joe and these ladies, our consultants, can attest is very expensive to treat. Not just the collection system, but very expensive. So over the last 5 years, since these rate increases, Joe rattled off. That doesn't sound right. Joe does it, but Joe reported on different projects. But there have been 2,710 linear feet of deteriorated clay sewer pipe replaced under our feet within the city limits of Willows over the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years. And that was as a result of the last sewer rate increase. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do that. Plus, not to mention complete rehabilitation of all 5 sewer lift stations, one in Northeast Willows and 4 within the city of Willows, was all completed only because of the sewer rate increases. And there were some major problems with the pumps and the systems, and also OSHA issues. We're almost to the point of being red tagged on several of them, because it was dangerous for our personnel to be climbing down in there. So that's all been rectified now because of the rate increases. So that's behind us. That's been done. And lastly, about 7 years ago, my home here in Willows, I hired 2 contractors to pull the permit right, 2 contractors to put a new service in for me. Well, the clay pipe, I'm standing there when it's time to reconnect to the clay pipe, and I know quite a bit about irrigation systems. Anyway, the clay pipe in the alley behind service in my area, which actually runs north, not south, that runs north. Anyway, the on-site city inspector finally said, call it, when we got about 20 feet from my connection, because that clay pipe, 100-year-old plus clay pipe, kept cracking and crumbling as we're digging into it more and more and more. So finally, he just said, call it good, cover it, bury it, because it would have went clear out in the middle of the next street down the way it was breaking. But we still have a significant amount of that type of structure beneath us. As Joe mentioned, when it rains heavy and the soil is saturated, that water goes into the sewer mains and has to be treated and ran through the sewer treatment plant, doubling the capacity up to about 1.5 million. It gets about that high, somewhere right in that area.
Yeah, that'd be I think our average daily is about 800 or
On an average, about 600 on a summer day, I think. But anyway, those are issues that we need to correct. So, yeah, I don't like paying taxes. I paid too darn many taxes, and this isn't a tax, this is an assessment. But anyway, assessments as well. But if we can lower this, we can certainly lower it. These are the maximum rates. So I think it's the right thing to do tonight, moving forward and approve this measure. I appreciate all of you folks being here and speaking out and sharing your thoughts. And you're here because you care about Willows, and I appreciate that. So that's all I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Couple things that I've learned through this process is that I've heard from a couple of you that the notices were hard to understand, and that you didn't quite understand what you received. And so I think one thing is to make sure that when we do send out a notice, that there's more clarity to that letter. So then when you do receive it, you understand what it's actually for. You know, our goal up here is to make sure you guys are aware of what we're doing. And I don't want, from what I heard, it sounds like it was a confusing letter to receive and read and understand. I personally don't remember receiving mine, but that could have just been me and missing it in the junk mail. So, with that, I think that is one thing that we definitely need to work on in 5 years from now. Unfortunately, it's that long. But any other notices to make sure that they're notable when you see them. The other one, as far as regarding grant funding, as much as I do love seeing a good grant come across, I just know that they're not guaranteed. I don't want to hitch my horse up to always relying on grants. So I do like that the study is done in a manner that doesn't allow for us to rely on grant funding. But then when we do that, get that grant funding, we're able to take care of some of those larger projects and cut them off of our list. I do have a quick question, and I don't know if it'll be Joe or L&T that will answer it. If this is adopted, the new rate study is adopted, is there a way for us to approve certain rates and not others? So for example, when I did my math on I did it on restaurants, 8 hectare cubic feet or 800 cubic feet, sorry. It currently says right now for the first year, it's a 43% savings versus the current billing rate. Okay. And I was like, okay, well, that's the first year. What does it look like at year 5 of this deal? So I did the same math. It increases by $7 over that year, if I did my math right, which still is about a 30% decrease over what they're currently paying. So in my mind, I see this as being a net positive for any of our commercial users. But as a homeowner, you're still getting hit. Am I reading that right on this when I'm looking this? Okay. So is there a way to, let's say it didn't get postponed and it did get approved, say, I'd like to keep the residential single family rate study where it's our rate where it's at, but still approve the new rate study for those commercial users? Is that a possibility? Is that? Okay. But we have to approve this though for those commercial users to actually get that discounted rate, which is, I think the lowest one I saw was at 27% of a savings. I don't think I saw any of them go up according to how you guys did your sample. So, that's what I would like to see is the new rate study be approved with the caveat that the single family residential homes be left at their current rate for at least the first year. And then during that year, I would like to see about possibly, pushing for some of those grants to make sure that we can hopefully get the sewer pond problem figured out or at least covered by a grant funding. Then that would be highly ideal to see about that. So that's where my thoughts are. Yes.
So since we don't know the outcome of the ponds and the liners, we may get a complete pass by the state, but we may not. We may have to pay something for that. And that is baked into the entire rate study, as you know. So we may not have enough money to deal with that. And we may or may not get grants to deal with that. So I think going back to what the vice mayor said at the beginning is going forward with the rate study as it is. And by the end of the fiscal year, we'll know whether or not we're going to have to we're going to have to line the ponds. Or if we're lucky, we won't. But we're probably not going to know for another maybe 6 months. So I think moving forward with the rate study now as is you can, as has been pointed out, you can always lower it, but you can't come back and raise it if all of a sudden we have to line the ponds.
Right. And I understand that. Here's my thought process on that is, as Mr. Hansen has stated earlier, is that it's about 80 cents a month increase on the residential units. It's about $10 a year, give or take a dollar here or there. At the 2029 number of units, that's $20,300 that we are shaving off of our study total for the first year. That we're saying, hey, we're not increasing it by $20,000, but yeah, we're still offering the best based off of our new rate study. All we're doing is shaving off $20,000. And to me, that seems like an acceptable loss if it's helping out the citizens.
Can you raise it in future years? If all of a sudden we have to line the ponds and we didn't raise it this year, it's 20,000 this year, but you can't go back and start raising it in future years, can you?
You can only go up to year 2, correct? Right. So, but that would be the same concern as the 14-year gap that we've had last time. Mhm. Mhm. Right. I would, I would hope since that's a policy change that would have to come back to the council. Mhm. Okay, so since you don't have a mic, I'm going to reiterate what you said for the online folks. Essentially, each year during our budget season, we need to redefine our single family dwellings
Love 'em.
charges or charge for each one of these at our finance meetings, our budget meetings, sorry. And at that point, we could say, hey, we need to increase this to X number up to whatever that July 1st, 2027 number is how that would work out. Okay. So that's my thought process on it. There are 4 of us right now, and I will leave it with the pleasure of the council. Okay. I make a motion that we accept the current rate study as presented with a hold on single-family residential increase and keep it at the current July 1st, 2025 number of $74.24, with the new rate study being applied to multifamily and commercial units.
I can second that.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just clarification. So this is for 1 year?
This would be for 1 year, and then at our budget meeting next year, this would come up again.
And maybe the motion could amend that as accepting this with the caveat for what you said in your motion, that every year during the budget cycle, this rate study will be reviewed and the next year will be adopted based on this rate study,
Yes,
not exceed.
I agree with that amendment.
Do you have that?
Yes, have it recorded.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, you move to approve the rate study as presented, however, maintain the current $74 per month, single family.
For single
rate.
family, the multifamily and commercial.
Multifamily stands as at 6627 for multifamily, and the commercial 3 classes, low strength, medium strength, high strength stand.
Correct.
Okay, and you are following this rate study, and that will come back in 1 year for further consideration on a possible increase or decrease.
Correct, with the budget.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I like it only because it honors kind of our single family. It takes care of the fact that we do need to keep moving forward with rates. And it brings it back in real time every year during our budget cycle, where we can hear what the community has said about looking for grants, and we can be looking at all those opportunities. So we can't go more than it. But, I think we need to look, and sure we are looking for every opportunity to keep it as low as possible. So it gets us started down the path in the right direction. saving y'all 89 cents a month, you know, on the single family. But I do like it also because it does reset commercial, which in a way that's beneficial with the change in how we do that. And we always had the concern, or I always heard the concern in our prior rate study that multifamily just didn't feel like they were paying their burden. So
Okay, so I have a first and a second. All in favor signify, oh, this is a roll call vote, correct? We'll do a roll call vote.
Mayor Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Pride,
yes,
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Thomas.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 4-0. Next up, item 9B, urgency ordinance, food truck moratorium, recommended action, hold a public hearing and adopt an interim urgency in ordinance extending ordinance number 765-2025, which established a temporary moratorium on new mobile food truck applications in all zoning districts within the city of Willows. Contact will be Joe Betancourt. Joe, is there reason for this public hearing if we denied the initial idea of extending it?
Yeah, you could extend this for 45 days. If you did pass this, we could come back. If you pass this, sorry, by a 4/5 vote, we could come back later before the expiration of the 45 days and extend it for, I believe, up to 10 months after that. So there is a potential that if this happened to pass, that we could come back and extend it again after that.
Okay. So continue with the public hearing on this then.
Yes.
Is the best. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, it still does. It is a separate piece to that puzzle.
Okay. Okay.
just
So
clear on that.
with that, then we will direct, I mean, do you have anything further to add to it than just what you said?
No, yep,
Okay.
that's about it.
Any questions from the council? Vice Mayor Thomas, any questions? Okay. Councilmember Pride?
No.
Councilmember Hanson?
No.
Okay, with that, we will go into our public hearing at 9:21. Is there any public comment regarding item 9B, food truck moratorium?
I have no cards.
Okay. Is there any walk-up public comments? Lily's trying to wait for the minute hand to move. Okay. Has there been adequate opportunity for the public to be heard? I close the hearing for further public comment at 9:22. Okay. Pleasure of the board. The council, sorry.
We all have to vote in favor of it. That's probably not going to happen. So do we just let it die, or do we need to make a motion?
No motion.
If there's no motion, it
No.
dies.
Looks like there is no motion to be made. We will continue on to our discussion and action calendar item. Do I need to say anything else? No motion made. Okay. On a discussion and action calendar item, all matters on the discussion action calendar item will be discussed and acted on individually. Individuals wishing to speak on these items are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. Comments should be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Item 10A, surplus police equipment purchase. Recommended action, authorize the city manager or her designee to purchase and accept transfer or three surplus police vehicles and other assorted police equipment from the city of Orland for a cost not to exceed $5,003. Marty Brown?
Good
Go ahead.
evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Recently, Fire Chief Monk, who's on Zoom with us here, he's on out on strike team, brought to my attention that the city of Orland was going to dispose of 3 police vehicles and some tasers, and would we be interested? And the price point seemed like an affordable price point. 3 police vehicles for $3, and tasers that really are just one generation away from being the most recent, $5,000. Given our efforts to try to reestablish the police department, it seemed like a good idea and a good purchase that a neighbor and a partner up the road is offering us really, a very good deal on this. So we thought we'd bring it forward and see if the council wanted to take action on it. Chief Monk, would you like to add anything to what I just said?
Good evening, council. I think Marty covered it very well. The city of Orland reached out and they have 3 surplus patrol vehicles. The city mechanic went up and looked at them. In his opinion, he believes that they're all in decent enough shape that he could get them into patrol status fairly easily. They need some sort of graphics. And one of the vehicles would need a cage installed. Orland also stated that they had some surplus equipment. I think some gun locks, some spare light bars that fit those vehicles that they'd be willing to give us as well. Obviously, it's not a permanent solution, but it would be something to start with. And we figured that it would be worthwhile to bring as an option to you guys to jump on if you so choose. And if not, then Orland can move on with disposing of the equipment through their normal surplus channels.
Chief, what's the lifespan? Did the city mechanic give us a lifespan of what he thinks we can get out of these vehicles?
I did not ask that question specifically. I know they're 2008s. They're 2008s, and they have, I want to say, 90,000-ish miles on them. One of the units used to be the old police chief car, so that one has seen very minimal, like hard miles. Obviously, police cars sometimes get driven quite aggressively. But I asked him, because he used to be the city mechanic in Orland, if there was any major issues with them, and he said that they were just timed out for what Orland's schedule is. So they're being used by their VIPs.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. Yeah, the Ford Crown Vics we're the workhorse for law enforcement agencies across the country. I mean, they're really a bulletproof car. They've performed well. And those cars, as Chief mentioned, one of them was a Chief's vehicle, which has, much lighter use. 90,000 miles on a patrol car is a lot of miles, but, I've ran them with higher mileage than that. But I mean, thank you, Chief, for bringing this matter forward and identifying this. I think it's very generous of our sister city, City of Orland, and the Orland Police Department to be so gracious as to offer these cars for $1 a piece. I think it'd be absolutely foolish to turn it down. It's at least a starting point when we do start to hire sworn law enforcement personnel in the near future, hopefully. And that's at least the goal, that we can have them outfitted, have at least 3 vehicles outfitted in service to get us over a little temporary gap, in the near term before we move forward. This is significant cost savings, especially with all the equipment donated as well. It's very generous of Orland. So, and as far as the remaining equipment, we'd be foolish to turn those, the tasers down as well. 12 tasers for a price of approximately $5,000. I mean, that's darn cheap. They appear to be like new, still a lot of life in them. So I think we'd be foolish to turn this down. So thanks, Chief, for bringing this information, and be safe out there. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thanks, Chief. We'll open this up to public comment.
Hi, Michelle Knight. In my past life or profession, I actually was a safety manager. I do caution you to be careful about making certain purchases. I also am very appreciative of the collaborative effort made here. Very much so. But with regard to the tasers, I would maybe put this off to the next meeting and do a little research first. Find out from OPD why they got rid of the tasers. Did they just have grant money? Did they buy the new version? Why did they replace them in the first place? Are they super old? Why? Just to make sure that they're safe, because the liability on using tasers that don't work or work properly could cost the city a lot of money. And there may be a good reason, and they may be perfectly fine. And I would say, awesome, that's great that you get a good deal on them. Wonderful, absolutely buy them if they're fine. As in regard to the vehicles, I do worry about them. You might actually ask if the county yard, who Ricardo Valdez over there, who actually outfits the vehicles, the patrol vehicles for the county, if he would look at them because he specializes in outfitting the vehicles. Is it worth outfitting them for patrol vehicles? They usually, last I heard, only put 100,000 miles on those vehicles because they have to get up to a high rate of speed when they're chasing someone. And again, you're talking liability insurance with Golden State Risk Management. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of miles on those cars and you're almost there at that high mileage already. So while it could be a really good deal, and I understand that, I'm not sure that it would be cost effective to put that equipment in there, because putting that equipment, the light bars, it sounds like maybe 2 of them might already have all that equipment, so maybe those might be okay. And maybe one of them might be good for a secretary for the future PD to drive around. So that might be a possibility to run errands, but I'm not sure that they would actually still be the most cost-effective way in the long run for patrol vehicles. It's just something to think about. There might be a couple more things, and maybe I would say contact Mr. Maloney and ask him, get his opinion. You contracted with him, get his opinion, see what he thinks, if that would be cost-effective. That's just my suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Further public comment?
Council Chief Monk, I think I have a couple answers to some of those questions. My understanding, the reason why they switched from the Taser 26 XPs was because the department decided to go to the new Taser 10s. They get like 10 shots with them instead of 1, and then you have to reload. Police officer, I am not, so I'm not 100% up to date with all of those things. As far as the vehicles, I appreciate some of the comments. I think some of them, are valid. The thing with the vehicles, ultimately, and at least in my opinion, they're $3 for all 3 cars. It's a very low investment. Once we get them, the mechanic can go through and take more time to look at them and research. He went and did a cursory look at them. Our mechanic is very good. He worked on the patrol vehicles when he worked at the city of Orland. He worked on them when he worked for the city of Chico. So once he gets the chance to really dive into them, he'll be able to be like, oh yeah, that one's worth the $5,000 or $10,000 to do the graphics and get everything involved. That one's not. I think that's a real potential. The other thing is procurement timelines. One of the things, just as we have extended delays in the fire world for apparatus, I've listened to multiple agencies on the law enforcement side talk about how difficult it is to get patrol vehicles. And so this is just maybe potentially a safety net if the council does end up establishing a police department again, to have something to start with.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, sorry.
Peggy White. So a couple of questions were answered about how old the vehicles are and how many miles I have on them. I don't mean this to sound facetious or flippant, but do you have like a Carfax report on these cars to know what their body integrity is? Because that's kind of the one thing I haven't heard, is for the safety of the officers and anybody they may be have in their cars, to make sure that these cars, even though they're 18 years old, you want to make sure that they're safe for our patrolmen and anybody they may have in them. That's my only concern.
Thank you.
Chief, these vehicles were bought new by the Orland Police Department, correct?
I think so. That's my guess. I would know for sure.
Thank you.
Well, just a question in the negotiations that we're having right now with the sheriff's department, has anyone asked the sheriff if they might have some surplus vehicles they'd be willing to donate to the cause?
You know, it's funny, I was thinking that exact thing. If there's, shifting and, we're still talking about potential relationships there with the sheriff's office, but if there's a reduction in their staffing, might there be vehicles or other items there that
They tasers and guns and
can be utilized? It's a good thought.
My understanding, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm almost sure, is that the county utilizes a lease fleet program. So the vehicles are leased.
That is correct.
So these vehicles are county leased? Chief, is that what you said? Just like old times?
No, I was trying to answer the comment of the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
These vehicles are
The
leased.
county
Okay.
vehicles are leased.
Okay, very good. Okay, sorry. So these three Crown Vics were purchased new by Orland, as far as you know.
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
So I just wanted to voice support of this measure. The three vehicles, as Chief Monk was saying, one for the cheap price that we're able to acquire them, having our mechanic be able to go through them. If we can get one serviceable vehicle for that price, I find it would be. The other two, even if they just run, could be then auctioned off and make our money back. The additional equipment, from the sounds of it, is still serviceable equipment. It was just they updated to the next newer generation. I see no reason why we shouldn't move to acquire that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And just kind of a final question is we don't completely have a plan yet for bringing back a PD. Would we just be parking these vehicles over at the Public Works yard somewhere behind a gate so they're secure?
Probably in the corporation yard, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Although I did mention too, because we don't really have a pool vehicle here, so staff who are, especially non-management staff, end up using their own vehicles, which I'll just say, as a city manager, that's not my favorite thing to have running to the post office here and there in your own vehicle. And so one possibility could be to use one of them as like a pool car so that we could have people be able to, sometimes we have to run to Walmart for stuff, people use their own cars. It's less than ideal, honestly, in a city. So that's another possibility. But I think Travis, the mechanic, would really have to do a deeper dive, like the chief said.
Yeah. Council comments, Vice Mayor Thomas?
No, I have no comments. I think it's almost too good to pass up. So I would move that we would authorize city manager to purchase these items.
I have a first.
Second motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? I would say that this is a great deal. Appreciate you, Chief, for working this out. And whoever else helped to, ask or put the feelers out there. The only thing that I would say is if there's a way for us to have the tasers sent back to the manufacturer to be checked, for make sure they're still viable. I understand that they're used. Didn't really say whether they were new or used. Do you know whether or not that's the case, Chief?
They're used and they've been maintained in accordance with whatever Orland's internal policies are, which I'm assuming was the manufacturer recommendations. I wouldn't think we would send them off immediately because I don't know if there's like a time schedule, like it has to be done annually or every 2 years. Because we get them tomorrow and we ship them off and we don't have a police department for a year. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of stuff should get figured out by whoever ends up being the future police chief, because they'll know more about it than me.
Sounds good to me. It seems like we're just, even if it was 5,000 for the three vehicles, I think that's hopefully money well spent if they can't be used by the police department. I do believe that there is a use for them within the city. With obviously the main goal being for the police department. So with that, I will all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0. Back to my list. All right. Item 10, discussion and action calendar. Oh, sorry. Item 10B, city council vacancy and appointment process. Recommended action, receive the staff report, consider the available options of filling the city council vacancy and provide direction to staff to proceed with the appointment process. Contact Marty Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. As you may recall, former council member Matt Busby resigned on July 1st. And in accordance with the Government Code Section 36512B, the city council has 60 days from the commencement of the vacancy on July 1 to complete one of the following courses of action: appoint someone to fill the vacancy, or call a special election to fill the vacancy on the next available regularly established election date of March 2nd, 2027, and leave the position vacant for the next 8 months. And so should the council wish to appoint someone to the city council, of course, you have broad discretion on determining the process. Staff has provided a proposal here, a recommendation for a process that would be outlined as follows: accept nominations and appoint a nominee, consider appointing the highest non-elected vote getter from the November 24 general municipal election, invite applications from individuals who participated in the November 24 general municipal election or the city's most recent appointment process, initiate an open call for applications to all eligible and interested parties, and appoint an applicant. So those are the 4 ways in which, if the council was going to elect to move forward with an appointment, those are 4 options for the appointment process versus a March 2nd, 2027 election. And if the council did move forward with some sort of appointment process, one of these options, the staff is recommending, in order to stay within the 60-day period that we're required to appoint, place Mr. Busby's position, would be July 15, which is tomorrow, August 7th, accept applications, or do one of these other options that was listed above. August 18th, conduct interviews, deliberate, and appoint the successful applicant. And then at the August 25th regular council meeting, administer the oath of office and seat the newly appointed council member. As you may recall, you're coming up on your summer recess, and so there is no meeting regularly scheduled for the first meeting in August. And that would comply with the 60-day requirement. That concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Well, options 2 and 3 are not really options, considering there's only 3.
Well, Dave Vaughn was the only other applicant.
That wasn't in November, though. That was in the.
He and I ran for my seat by 2 years.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, I was thinking different vote. Okay.
That was, Dave would have been the only other one for options 2 and 3.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards 4. I think just get the applications out, see who's eligible and interested, and interview and go from there.
I'm in agreement.
I agree. And
So
Dave wouldn't want it anyway because he was campaigning for you. So
When I
there
was
you go.
campaigning for, my campaign strategy was, if you vote for Measure I, vote for me. If you don't, vote for me.
So is there any public comment regarding this item? Okay. With that, I believe that we need to vote on this, or general consensus works.
Yeah, I would recommend that you
Or an ordinance?
make a motion to move forward with the appointment process,
Okay.
with bullet number 4, option 4 of the process that was outlined, and then adopting the calendar that is also here, unless you want to change the calendar.
I do have a quick question on the calendar. Why is it that we're holding a special meeting on the 18th?
It was just a suggestion because it's
Just
a
a suggestion,
Tuesday,
okay.
and you already meet on Tuesdays, and then the following Tuesday would be the regular meeting, and you'd be within compliance of the 60 days, and you could just swear somebody in at the regular meeting on the 25th. So we're just trying to, if you want to change it up,
That would be the August 25th would be their first meeting, correct?
correct. They'd be sworn
So-
in at the very beginning, and then they'd sit right down and be at the first.
And within the time frame, either way, that'd be their first meeting because we're taking the summer break, right? So it works out either way.
Yes, yeah. it
Okay.
does, Yeah.
That was my only question. I didn't know if there was a meeting in the way there that we were missing or
I
that
mean,
they'd be
otherwise
missing.
meet the timeline. If
Yeah,
we
no.
wait till-
I didn't know if there was an earlier meeting that they'd be missing other than our next July one, which I feel like doesn't give enough time for applicants.
The only other option would be to, I guess you could make the timeline for applications July 15th to, you know, our
20th.
next meeting, to July 27th, and then at the regular 28th. Yeah, it sounds very,
That's too short. Yeah, no, that's not what I was going for. Okay.
I would move that we move forward with bullet statement 4, doing an open call for applications to all eligible and interested parties and appoint an applicant utilizing the timeline as provided in the staff report.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0. Okay, council correspond, item 11, comments and reports. Number 11A, council correspondence. I did receive a photocopy of the thank you from the Willows 4th of July Committee. Dear City of Willows, on behalf of the Willows 4th of July Committee, we want to express our deepest gratitude for your generous donation. Your support plays a vital role in helping us keep our Willows hometown fireworks show each year. We are honored to have you as part of our community of supporters. Thank you, Willows 4th of July Committee. Sorry, it's handwritten and it's photocopied, so it's not the easiest for me to read. Then I naturally stutter as well. Let's see here. What is no? That's all the correspondence that I have. Is there anything else that you have, Carlene? As far as correspondence? Okay. Okay. And then we'll go on to city council comments and reports. Vice Mayor Thomas, would you like to lead us off?
Have no report.
Councilmember Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, briefly, yesterday we had our regular monthly Glen Groundwater Authority meeting. Routine business as we navigate the waters of the groundwater sustainability plan. And finally, I'd just like to thank our former colleague Matt Busby for his service to the city council. He was a good council member. I miss him. I think the city will sorely miss him. He thought things through with his head and his heart the way it should be, and strive to do the right thing, and did do the right thing. So thank you, Matt, for your service. He's probably getting ready to take a nap now, so he's probably not listening. But appreciate his service to the city, to the community, and to the city council. It was a pleasure working with you. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Pride?
The only thing, and I did want to bring it back during council comment, I brought it up earlier in the meeting, is that I do think we need to continue with our library board of trustees. I think we can get a good group of community members to continue moving that organization forward. I believe once we have them in place, they can look at policies, process roles, look at our ordinances, and come up with a plan that works. I say that knowing that we've had some struggles with our library board of trustees over the last couple of years. And I always say when we're working with people can make our lives very interesting, right? I do believe that there's people in the community that would do a great job. I believe we heard clearly from our board of supervisors in the letter they sent to us about their concern over our potential kind of taking over of the board of trustees responsibilities. They do fund us to the tune of about $83,000 to $85,000 a year for our library. I think it's important that we maintain those partnerships and those relationships. And I really feel strongly that, we need to keep more of our community engaged in areas. It's too much for all of us to stay on top of it. The trust funds that they oversee are very well, set aside and taken care of. But I think we just need those people that love the library to sit in that role. So I would ask this council to just give staff direction to continue to fill the 3 vacant trustee positions and see if we get some great people to put in for that.
I don't know if we're allowed to give direction at this moment, but yeah, I think that should be brought back to our next regular session meeting.
I agree.
Well, so when we normally have a vacancy, do we do council direction to fill vacancies? I mean, it's literally, we have a library board of trustees and we have 3 vacant positions. So when we have a vacancy on a planning commission, does the council have to approve advertising to fill a vacant planning commission?
Well, previously, there's been different direction by the council, so, and now the council wants to go in a different direction. So normally you would agendize that and formally take action to do something different than what was given before, because this
Well,
is not on the agenda.
So the direction before was just look at the municipal code with the idea of taking it back. So, I mean, it wasn't any direction to change it. It was just to look at the municipal code and possibly make changes. Has there been other direction besides that official council direction?
I'd have to go back and look at the agenda from 2 meetings ago because it was on there when it got continued.
Well, that's the one I referenced, and it was simply to look at the municipal code to consider changing the structure. It wasn't any decision to change the structure. It was just to look at the code and
So this is a new consideration that's different than that, which is we're not going to consider changing the structure. So,
Well,
I mean,
that agenda
I don't know,
item's
you're
kind of
just
gone
saying,
away.
I just like,
I
Like, I
think
guess-
it does need to be for the council. On
Okay, so to fill vacancies on our current library board of trustees, it has to be agendized. Thank you.
Just because of the initial direction received. Okay. So it will be back on the July 28th agenda. Anything further?
Mr.
Councilmember
Mayor, I
Pride?
think that's a prudent thing to do is agendize a matter and have a council open discussion on it. So absolutely looking forward to it. Thank you.
And I
All
do
have.
know there's been a lot of community members that do want to speak on that. So
Yes.
I want to make sure they have that opportunity. But I do understand where you're coming from, Lori, in that filling them as soon as possible. Yes, I do understand that as well. Utility. So sorry, Councilmember Pride, did you have anything further? Or was that it? Okay. So I had a couple things on there. Board of Trustees was one of them. Utility sewer billing. So I believe that our next steps on that is going to be to contact the city engineer and the county about what our next steps are to get that figured out, considering that the motion did not get passed for the job description. So I'm assuming at this,
We,
and if you
we
need to
don't
have,
think, we don't think that we can probably do it in-house, so we'll have to ask Cal Water to continue and ask the county what's the process to get it on the rolls and talk to the city engineer about doing the processing that they would normally do in April or May and figure out how we do it by the August 10th date.
okay,
We already started the entire process and gave notice to the county and Cal Water that we were going to go in this direction and started the process. So we're going to have to dial that back now.
okay.
So I
And
don't know what the outcome was.
so with that understanding, then if there's a special meeting that needs to happen in order to make that work out, just contact us and we'll plan on trying to do that before the July 28th meeting to make sure you guys got time to what you can work out in the 11th hour. So,
Okay.
and then we discussed an ad hoc committee. Is that going to be on the July 28th meeting?
Yes, I was going to add it to the
Okay.
agenda. Yep. It's scheduled.
And then,
That's to review the ad hoc committee for the review of the whole overhaul of the.
the
muni code,
title, correct, or the Muni Code, yes.
Entire meeting code, yeah. It's
Yes,
probably
ma'am.
gonna be
Okay.
2 months project.
Perfect. And then a couple other things. Carlene, where are we at with the shades for the windows? I noticed about the entire audience, I think, got blinded at some point today. And I know it's just the time of the year.
I
Okay.
just have to contact him.
Okay.
Now that the budget's been approved, it is going to be implemented soon. It's
Okay. I was just curious.
going on right now.
I mean, when we have an audience, I don't want to blind them all. So,
Right.
and then I was kind of looking at the committee appointments since it was sitting up here. I noticed Mr. Busby's name on a couple of them. I didn't really see any where he was the only person, I guess is the best way to say it without there being an alternative. So I guess,
I would recommend bringing back that on the August 25th meeting when you have appointed somebody that night and then reshuffle committees appointments, if that's all
okay,
right.
sounds good. Awesome. And then that is all I had. With that, we will go to city manager's report. And I know how those three play out, but I still have to read it off the. form.
I don't have any report. Thank
Okay.
you. We're good.
Okay, with that, we will be convening into, I guess, quick discussion regarding closed session. Prior to the city council convening a closed session, the public will have an opportunity to address the council regarding the items listed below. Pursuant to Government Code 54954.3, public comments are generally restricted to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment regarding item 12A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, City of Willows versus County of Glenn et al., Glenn County Superior Court case number 26 CV 00193, or closed session item 12B, conference with real property negotiators, property 0 Sycamore Street, Willows, California 95988, APN number 003-113-006-000. Agency negotiator Marty Brown, negotiating parties Ivan Alexis Ayala Mendoza, under negotiation price and terms of payment. Any public comment? Yes. Mhm.
The property you're selling, that's on Sycamore Street?
Yeah, it's the corner of Yolo and East Sycamore. So it's on the east side of the tracks. It's a small parcel on the south side. I think it's Yolo and
Just
Sycamore.
land.
It's just vacant land.
Yeah.
It's a small lot, small sliver.
I believe it's just kept as green grass right now, is it not?
Yeah.
Currently a city,
Fine.
currently sort of a city park. Very small, albeit.
Little.
I was just trying to figure it out and I couldn't figure it out in my head. Thank you.
Public comment?
The appointment would be taken beginning tomorrow. Who should I see for that? And what process for that application?
So you'll come into the front desk and then they'll give you the application. There will be a pile of information you'll fill out. Is there I believe there's a
City
copy
clerk will
online as
have the
well.
applications. You should just ask for the city clerk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she'll have the applications and explain the
And that'll be
process to you. Yeah, right here at City Hall.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, we will go into closed session at 9:56.
Good night.
Okay, and we are returning back from closed session at 10:33. City Attorney Gretchen Steer will have the report out.
Sorry, my voice is a little weak tonight. The council met in closed session for item 12A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, and has directed the city manager to execute a legal services agreement with Harlan Tuano, Highsmith, and Whaley. And then the council also met on 12B on real property and negotiation, and that matter will be brought back in a future date.
Perfect. And with that, we will adjourn at 10:34. Have a good night.